All right, at long last, we've got a Triple Crown race. It is Belmont Stakes Day. Welcome to Belmont Stakes Live, presented by TVG. We'll tell you about a special offer they've got here momentarily. Wanted to introduce my co-host, Bram Weinstein, up top with me, and down below, thrilled to be joined by two of about 25 or 30 guests that we'll have joining us here over the next 3 hours, Ashley Mayu and the Pick Six King, John Stetton. I'm talking in a hurry because they're about to load into the gate for the Wonder Again Stakes, which, by the way, is the start of the Pick Five. Bram, let's start with you. Happy Belmont Stakes Day. What are you doing here to start your Pick Five?
Well, I'll turn it over to the experts in a moment. I just want to say to you, I plan on making a lot of money today, and this is a 3-horse race out of a 5-horse field, and the money starts with picking the 3, which is a moderate outside shot here. I like Highland Glory, so that's the direction I'm going. All
right, John, is he insane?
No. I think this is actually one of the trickiest races on the card, even though it's only a 5-horse field. And I was torn between singling the 2, who I think is the speed and controls the pace. I couldn't get myself to do it. I very rarely go all. I got all. I'm going to be alive in the Pick 5 no matter what happens.
Wow. Okay.
Which makes the 2 a cinch because, well, anybody else, because you can single the 2 at my cost. So
wire to wire, right? We know what's coming. Ashley, what do you think?
I thought it was Sweet Melania, but the horse that intrigued me maybe for a second is the horse on the rail, Speak to Me of Summer, Christophe Clement's horse. I thought the addition of Lasix and blinkers on might be a good price. And I see the horse is a little chilly on the top board.
Yeah, I mean, look, I think if you could catch a price here, I think a lot of people probably are singling Sweet Melania. Some people might be going too deep with Selflessly, obviously, given the connections. To Bram's point, I think Highland Glory, that race last out, if you didn't watch it, you missed why there's any excitement around the horse. But she really overcame a ton to be even competitive in that spot. The fact that she finished second was truly remarkable there. And look, another step forward there from that effort. I think she's a viable sort of mid-range price you could throw in. So let me check back here. They're still circling behind the gate there. John, real quick, if people are looking for a single or a race where you've got a stronger opinion as they're throwing in a late Pick 5 ticket, what do you tell them to do here?
I singled the horse. A lot of people are not going to single, and they're going to be actually on a different single in that race. But the horse, well, I can't say single. The horse I went back at, and who was, if I was going to single with a gun to my head, is actually Asmussen's horse in the 8th race, the Acorn. I like Casual a lot.
Only bad news for you is that I like her a lot too.
Listen, broken clocks are right twice a day too, so no worries.
Yeah, the single is 'Tis the Law. Give me a break here. What are we talking about?
That's what everyone's doing, right? That's what everyone's doing, though.
Of course, everyone's doing that because it's going to happen. Yes, of course.
Are we going to discuss the Belmont after this race a little bit?
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, good.
Ashley, is there a single here? They're going into the gate now. Is there a single you see in the sequence that you throw in, that you tell people about?
Yeah, I'm not a huge fan of that sequence. I like the late Pick 4 that starts in race 9. So that's kind of where my...
That's fair enough. So we brought you in a little too early here, I guess.
Okay.
The problem, with this race, Dan, like, if it wasn't for the layoff, I think Sweet Melania runs away with this. That's the thing that I'm concerned about. It hasn't raced in a while. That's why I'm taking the 3 Highland Glory. I'm taking a shot on that she's not going to be what she was back in November. She's going to be off a little bit.
Yeah. I mean, look, a lot changes, could change. I mean, some of these horses coming back could also, take another dramatic step forward. They've broken from the gate now. They're racing in the Wonder Again Stakes, and Sweet Melania, as expected, on the lead. It'll be interesting to see the fractions as they go up here. It looks like Antoinette, who figured to be, the pressing pace here, is right, just sort of, just right on her heels, just to her outside. All right, they went 24-1. Jonathan, I'm assuming you're watching this side by side. Any reaction to the?
I am, but I wish I could bet because you're about 10 seconds ahead of me.
Oh, so. No. Okay.
So we can figure out a way where I could bet when you give me information. We're in good shape. don't think
the field is so short. There is no traffic. There's no room to actually make up. So we're just going to find out who's in the best condition today. That's all this is.
But, 24 and change on the lead, you've got an advantage.
Second quarter slightly faster. They did the half in 47-3. Ashley's horse is actually making a nice little run there on the rail. Speak to Me a Summer looks like she's still got plenty under Joel Rosario. Antoinette under a ride and not really making an impact. I don't want to totally blow this for you, Jonathan, but Sweet Melania looks like she's opening up. And the mover from the back is Highland Glory.
Well, when I was going to go, all or single the 2, it really gives the 2 a big boost because, that's just one of those weird racing idiosyncrasies that just works out that way,
It seems like that, right?
Yeah, that's not a surprising finish, Dan. I mean, and no one should be, based on the field, the size of the field and the class of the horse in Sweet Melania, which she'd done in the past. I mean, it's not a surprise she went wire to wire and won this. I was just going against it was a long layoff. I'm going to take on a shot on someone who has been racing in recent months. And it was close, 2-3 the finish.
When it comes to those kind of layoffs, one thing that I always watch for is certain trainers, I don't pay any attention to the layoff because they just win fresh and they fire fresh and they get their horse back. And when you watch some of these barns, like if you go out in the morning and watch Chad or Todd, I mean, it's almost like going out to one of the yards in Europe, how they train. They've got so many nice horses working and training together. They have an advantage over the smaller barns coming off a layoff. They really do. They're able to train, differently in sets and work differently. And, I discount the layoff with a lot of those guys.
Yeah.
Yeah. And this has been, it's important to have a rule or a set of rules this year more than any other year when you've had so many of these horses sitting in the barn waiting to make their first starts, having to wait a little longer than usual. It's important to kind of know which trainers are likely to have a horse ready and which ones aren't. Now, again, on these big days, you're seeing a lot of names, especially on these turf races like Clement and, the Brown and all the usual suspects who, no matter how long that horse has been off for, you're going to assume that horse is ready to roll. Ashley, as you look at the rest of the sequence, I know you said that you like the later races. Let's kick off, since we've only got you guys for a set period of time. Let's kick off with the Belmont Stakes with you and tell us how you see that race shaping up.
I think, Bram already said it. Tis the Law is the horse to beat. And this is the horse that we've talked about for months now. Before even the Triple Crown schedule came out, this has been the hype horse. I'm kind of drinking the Kool-Aid. I think this is the horse is the one to beat. But with that said, second, I like Sol Volante, but my questions with him is the distance. Yeah, he should be fine at a mile and an eighth, but sometimes he's gone a mile and 16th and he's needed a lot more. I really did think the race at Tampa is better than it looks. I know King Guillermo really did put on a show in the end, but I thought it was a good race from him. The other question with him is going to be the short turnaround, which doesn't throw me off of this horse whatsoever. I don't think, they're just going to toss him in here. I didn't think the last race, the number came back, but it was a pretty nice trip. Everything kind of went his way. If I was looking for a price, I was between Farmington Road and Modernist, one of which I was always on the Farmington Road camp and was really disappointed last time out. I didn't think he had many excuses there, whereas in the start before, he had the off track, had the horrible trip, and finished second. So I switched now. I ended up going to Modernist for my trifecta. I do think that he'll be close to the pace. I know we kind of talked about this a little bit yesterday. I don't think he needs to be right on the pace, but I'd like to see him sit a couple horses off and maybe he'll get a good trip and get a minor share.
Yeah. And that's what it really comes down to is how you envision this pace unfolding. Because I think you've got two camps. You got two schools of thought. One school is tap it to win on the rail, is going to be loose. And is probably the fastest horse can get there. It doesn't make any sense for Tis the Law to battle with him. And then, potentially maybe tap it to win is able to sneak away, at least hang on for a large chunk. Another school of thought is that a horse potentially like Modernist or Four Left could put pressure on, ensure a hot pace. Tis the Law sits off of them and makes that move. Pneumatic, we had a comment here about Pneumatic potentially being a player in that second flight. John, how do you see the pace unfolding, and how did that play into who you landed on?
Well, I think there's two horses that can set the pace: Tap It to Win and Four Left, Doug O'Neill's horse. I think if Johnny breaks good from the rail. He's probably going to get the lead. I won't be surprised if 4 Left pressures him, or even if he gets the lead. I think those two are going to be pretty much, on the pace. I think if the one gets the lead by himself, he becomes dangerous. But I'm thinking that, the other rider, Jose Ortiz, will pressure him and keep it honest. And I think that Tiz the Law is good enough and fast enough to keep them in range. And Manny is a good enough rider to know, hey, I may have to move a little sooner than I want to if either of those two horses are galloping on the lead. He's a young, aggressive, up-and-coming rider. He wants to win this race really bad. He's not going to be over-patient. If somebody's alone on the lead, he's going to go after them a little bit early. When I look at the race, I see what everybody else sees, obviously. The first thing I do with a heavy favorite like this, if I'm going to bet a sequence, is I look for a chink in the armor. You know what I mean? What can I find to beat this horse? The horse really should be undefeated. If he doesn't get in trouble in the slop in Kentucky, he's probably undefeated. I couldn't find a chink in the armor. He's well drawn outside. The 1-turn mile and an eighth is perfect. I like a young, hungry, aggressive rider going for a classic like this. He's got everything in his favor. So, all right, how do I beat him? One of the things I look for in these races, this time of year, 3-year-olds can step up and run a lot better than they have in the past. And there are 2 horses that have, patterns on Thoroughgraph that scream out to me a forward move. Is it going to be enough of a forward move to beat him? I don't know the answer to that, but I have to, consider that that's a good possibility, because they can move forward enough to beat him. And if he takes a step back or aggressive or something happens, that's that. I'm not afraid to single a horse like that on occasion, and in a different type of race, I might do it. But I wasn't prepared to do that today with him. And the 2 horses to me that look like they're sitting on forward moves are the 3 Max Player, who's gone forward in every start. He's a little bit fresh. He's got to come from a little bit, far out of it, which the track really isn't playing that way. But by that race, who knows what could happen. And if they do get, if Tiz the Law does move into those other horses a little bit early and it gets a little contested, I think he can win the race. The other horse that I really didn't like on paper and really didn't love watching the replays, but when I looked at the numbers, I said, okay, forward move coming here. I got to include him, and that's Dr. Post. He's got the kind of pattern that I have looked for historically over the years that I'm confident he's going to go forward. It's Pletcher, Ortiz, well spotted on the outside. Irad, when he gets in the zone on these days, he just is always in the right spot. So those are the 3 I think it's going to come down to for me. If I'm alive going into the Belmont, those are the 3 that I'm going to have. And I'm relatively confident the winner should come from there. I wanted to use Sol Volante. Here's my knock on him. He can absolutely win, and I may be off base, but if you watch his last race at Gulfstream, and I loved him that day. I couldn't believe he was 2-1. Biancone's other horse was in there, Ed the Indian. I just thought Sol Volante was a lot, and he won. But he got a perfect setup. Chivalry went after the other Ete Indy early. They were banging on the front end. He was sitting back, and he really had to pin his ears and run hard. And he got up. Now, did he need that race and go forward? I don't know. Wheeling back in 10 days, I just thought with the perfect setup, wheeling back quick, Biancone not as deadly out of Florida as he is in Florida for whatever reason, I eliminated him, and it may be to my downfall at the end of the day. He'll be the one that I'm worried about. If I'm alive and he's moving on a turn and they were going fast, I'm going to be like, oh, man, I wish I left them in, but I did.
Ashley's benefit, though. She'll be happy.
Right.
Let me ask you this. We've got, as we mentioned, TVG obviously reached out. They wanted to support this show, and we appreciate that. So we were excited. They're also offering a promotion, which you see on the bottom of your screen there. It's a $200 risk-free bet. So if you don't have a TVG account, you go to TVG, you sign up, you use the promo code ABR, and you get a $200 risk-free bet. You do this between now and the Belmont Stakes. If you had a risk-free bet, right, you're not going to use that on Tiz the Law. Who would you use that risk-free bet on? Ashley, let's start with you.
We're saying in this race specifically?
Well, you could use it in the Belmont Stakes. You could actually use it in any race between now and the Belmont Stakes. So if you got another horse that you like that you use it on, who would it be?
I mean, for me in the the Belmont, I'll say it this way. Yeah, I wouldn't do it on Tis the Law. That's just the price isn't there. To me, where I see second choice being, I mean, I think Tap It to Win's going to be bet down maybe a little bit, but I do think Sol Volante is going to take some money. And I think Dr. Post, I don't think we're going to get 5-1 is my concern, actually. For me, I probably would use it on Sol Volante. Like, I'm kind of the opposite on this 10 days rest thing. It doesn't bother me much. So I would go for a little bit more money. It's $200. It's risk-free. That's who I'd go to.
And I usually make him coming back quick. I don't shy away from that. Just in this scenario, everything combined, I didn't use him, and I am worried about it. So you know, he can win.
John, risk-free bet. If you knew you were going to get the $200 back if you lost, who would you put it on?
Okay, I would bet $100 exacta max player over Tis the Law. I'd bet a $20 triple part wheel max player over Tis the Law with 5 horses in the third slot. One of them would be Sol Volante for sure, and that's it. Bang! Either get it all or get none.
I love it.
Anyway, so it doesn't matter.
Bram's been all on this. No one's beating Tis the Law anyway. But if you had to, right? If you had nothing to lose, if you were going to get the money back, what would you do, Bram? Who would you put that $200?
Well, I'm knocking down on those odds. I mean, that's not fun. I mean, like, why would I do that? I want a payoff. I think someone said Casual earlier in the 8th race. That's who I love. I would put it on that. You'll get like 3 or 4 to 1, something like that. I love him in that race. I'd go Casual in race 8 there. And like I'm on the exact same page with John about the Belmont Stakes. In fact, like, listen, I'm going to say it now, and I'll say it a million times. I think Tis the Law is going to win. Like, that's what I think is going to end up happening. But I am going to take a shot on the 2 lightly raced, not tested in stakes race horses, the 3 Max Player and the 9 Dr. Post, and specifically with the 9, it's very telling what his odds are right now. And I think a lot of people are looking at Pletcher and Ortiz and seeing that combination as a reason to be really confident in him. And I'm confident in it too. But it does feel like with this field not being as strong as, say, a first race in a Triple Crown normally would be, or even a Belmont would necessarily be, the length of the race not being what it normally is, this is right for a horse that is kind of coming out of nowhere type of moment. And so I will be taking a shot on the 3 and the 9 in the Belmont Stakes to try to knock off Tis the Law, but I'm expecting Tis the Law to actually win.
I like what I'm hearing, this interest in Max Player. Max Player is, you know, when you come out of the Withers, you don't necessarily come out with much fanfare, and, you know, rightfully so. You know, for those who follow the Triple Crown Trail over the year, the horses who prep up north, especially in the Withers and the Gotham, aren't typically the horses who factor in the Derby. That being said, if you watch that Withers, he does something pretty impressive, I think, at least visually. He's all the way on the outside the entire time, no attempt at all to save ground, and they're going fairly slow. I mean, they're going really slow. The horse who set in the pace, Shotsky, you know, he ended up finishing second, and I forget who was third, but essentially the top 2 ran all the way around together, and he was the only one who was 4 wide the entire time. And he makes this move inside the 8th pole where he just kind of clears off and wasn't really asked for much. I think the downside, and people will, you know, point to this. I don't know that it matters. I mean, if you have a horse that's that good, you know, people are scared to touch anything coming out of Linda Rice's barn right now. It's been ice cold at Belmont. I wonder, John, does that scare you at all as a potential deterrent with Max Player?
No. Okay. You know, as a matter of fact, sometimes I actually like that because you get a few ticks higher on odds. And if you know somebody's good, if you know a barn's good, even when they're slumping, like one of the things I always do at the end of the year at Saratoga, I'll always make money betting riders that are over. Because, you know, as soon as you get them on a live horse, they're hungry. You know, sometimes they're making the wrong moves and whatnot. They slump. But when they're on the right one and they're a decent rider, they can win. Linda Rice knows how to train horses. She's in a slump, whatever the case may be. Who knows why? Sometimes the barn just running bad. It's going to end. She's not going to not win. You know what I mean? And this horse is going to be 15 to 1, 18 to 1, whatever. Yeah. So, you know, no, it doesn't deter me at all.
Yeah. I mean, like, the connection of Pletcher Ortiz it's attractive. So, but the number isn't. And that's the part about Max Player that I'm really turned on by. You're going to get 15 to 1 or better than that. Right. And I think he's got a real shot here. And then with 4 left, I'll talk about that one later this afternoon, but you're going to get 30 to 1 or better there. And granted, that is a total hit or miss situation with that horse if you look at his past performances. But if he hits, boy, do you hit. So he's in my exotics for sure. Like if you can get him to, hit the board somewhere. If
for whatever reason, Tap It to Win doesn't get out of the gate, doesn't break well, 4 left might find himself loose on the lead. And who knows? I mean, who knows?
Own speed, always dangerous, I mean, always. The track has been very kind to speed past couple of days. Horses that get out are just not coming back.
Yeah. I mean, the money to be made in the Belmont Stakes is if Tiz the Law is going to win, if 4 left can somehow come up second, at least you got some money to make there because you're going to get a 30 to 1 horse that's going to come up and hit the board. So.
Absolutely. We're going to talk a little bit more about a certain long shot here in a few moments. We're expecting Reylu Guttierez, who's riding Jungle Runner, to be joining us in a couple of minutes. Right now, though, I wanted to welcome in a couple of guys. I could see them in the waiting room. One of them just stood up, so you're going to see only one of them here momentarily. But we've got Aaron Halterman and Jared Welch. All right, they're both back now. The racing dudes. What's going on, fellas? How we doing?
Hey, what's up, guys?
What's up?
How we doing? So where are you physically? Where are you located right now?
We are in we're in Missouri. We're in Springfield, Missouri, actually, of all the horse racing capital of the United States.
Love it, love it, love it. You guys have been on fire. We've got a couple of your handicappers coming on later on. Everybody has seen on Twitter Mike Somich, the incredible run he's been on the last little while with the Somo bombs. So you guys are doing a great job. You've got all the podcasts as well. If you don't know the racing dudes, check them out. As I just mentioned a moment ago, we're expecting a guest here momentarily. Reylu Guttierez, who's riding Jungle Runner, should be joining us here. And we're going to do our first swap out of the day. Ashley, Jonathan, whoever's got to go more, raise your hand. And you can be excused because I've got to work.
Got to go more.
Okay, Jonathan. Yeah,
John has to go more, Dan.
What was that? I didn't hear what you said.
Yeah, well, you said go more as if it was like a potty break or something.
No, it's not that. I'm gambling today, so
we'll let you get back to work.
All right, how do I get out? I just click off, or you throw me in?
Yeah, I'm going to throw you off. Hang on, I'm throwing you off right now. Great seeing you, brother.
All right, all the best, everybody. Good luck, everyone.
All right.
Thank you.
All right, so John's out. Aaron, Jared, hang on. We got Reylu Guttierez coming in here momentarily.
All right.
Reylu.
Uh-oh.
Reylu, do you hear us?
Sorry, Dan, we couldn't hear you. Can you repeat?
Yeah, absolutely. Reylu, do you hear us?
Can you hear him? I'll just ask the questions for you.
You may need to repeat it.
I can hear.
You can hear now. All right, Reylu, we are excited to have you in for a number of reasons. You've been riding really well at Belmont. For people who don't know your story, you're a younger, up-and-coming rider. You graduated from SUNY Cortland, if I've read that correctly. We've seen you in the winner's circle a few times here over the past couple of weeks. But your big ride, it all builds up to today, Jungle Runner in the Belmont Stakes. Just describe what's going on inside that shirt there in your heart. Is it pumping? Tell us how hard it's pumping right now and how excited you are.
I'm being honest, it's really not pumping like that. Maybe probably because it's not, close to post time yet. I just don't know. I just have like a confidence right now. I mean, Stephen Asmussen, he can give you that on any horse. He just gives you, whether it's 1 to 1, 100 to 1, it doesn't matter. It's Stephen Asmussen and it's Toby Sheets, and you're just confident. So I know I got to do my best out there, and it's obviously the Belmont Stakes, and and the post parade, going up, come walking out, I'll think about it. But once I put my goggles down, I mean, it's like any other race, and I got to try to win. Doesn't matter my odds.
Reylu, what's your approach I'm sure you've handicapped this race a million times. How do you see the pace setting up, and where do you envision you and Jungle Runner being?
I envision Jungle Runner and I being kind of in the second to third wave. Tap It to Win, I expect them to get out of there, get in a good position. I definitely expect Manny to be forwardly placed as he's the horse to beat. He doesn't want to get bottled in. But I do expect to be in front of 2 or 3 horses and just make my presence made, hopefully at the end, and just save whatever I can to the end. If he gives me a good break, I'm not going to take anything away from him. I'm definitely going to let him run. I have nothing to lose. I have everything to gain, and we're gonna do it like that. But as far as like a tactical speed, I see myself second in between second and third wave.
Reylu, what has to happen for Tis the Law to lose today?
Thank you very, very much for that. I will take your mic.
You always cut you. Wait, Penelope, can we ask him one more question?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, just one more question. Bram was asking, what has to happen for Tis the Law to lose today?
Well, everybody knows he's the favorite, and for him to win, he's gonna if I was him, I would want to break sharp. Hopefully that happens and get a good fourth position. And he's coming out the 8 hole. He's outside. He's gonna get a trip looking at everybody. So if he can get some pace, a pace tool, whatever sits up in front of him, and he can sit, he's gonna be very tough. But I think he's gonna be right in the spot to just break, go straight, and sit right there. I think he's in a really good spot.
All right. Look, we wish you the best of luck. We know you got to get going. You got a couple other rides. Best of luck, and we'll be watching you.
Thanks, guys. I really appreciate it. Have a great day.
Thanks, Reylu.
All right, thanks. We're going to get Penelope in here in a moment. Hey, Penelope, how's it going?
It's going well. Thank you so much.
Take care.
Best luck today. It's going super well. I'm at Belmont Park, you guys.
Hang tight 1 second. We want to bring in Racing Rachel M. Rachel McLaughlin's in here. Is here from Indiana Grand, as we all know. Rachel, hang tight. We got Penelope live with us at Belmont Park. Penelope, as you can see, you're wearing a mask. What are some of the precautions they have for media out there today? Assuming I know there's not that many media out there. So what have they asked you to do?
So as soon as I got to Belmont Park, I had my temperature taken with this really cool space age gun thing that they pointed at my head. Social distancing is in full effect. Obviously, masks are on. There's hand sanitizer everywhere. Everyone's just being really, really cautious and careful because, of course, this is the first sporting event that New York City has seen since the beginning of the pandemic. So everyone is just being as careful as possible. The movement around the racetrack is very restricted. There are only certain places certain people can go. So, it's a really cautious environment, which I, for one, appreciate.
That's awesome. We've seen a couple of the pictures you've sent back, a couple of stakes races already on the card. Just give us a little preview of what else you're going to be capturing today and when we might expect to see you later on the show.
Well, hopefully I'll be able to talk to you just before the Belmont Stakes in only 2 hours. But, I'm going to try to share as much as I can on the ABR channels. And that's everything from race winners to celebrations, jockeys, grooms, trainers, assistant trainers, the people that are with these horses day in and day out. And I'm just going to try to bring, the background of Belmont Stakes into people's homes because it's a privilege to be here and I want to make sure we share it.
Awesome. All right. Bram, you have any questions or you want to catch up with her when she comes back later?
I do want to know, like we all see the routines of how the horses are brought out, how the jockeys are brought up, how they're brought onto the track. Is it noticeable how different that they stay away from one another? Like, what is the routine like as they get brought on the track and get into a race?
Dan, I cannot hear Bram.
Yeah, if you can't hear, Bram was basically asking, has anything changed in terms of routine related to the jockeys, what they're doing, coming, out of the jocks room and then going onto the track?
So obviously, there's a lot more limited interaction with their when they're talking to trainers. There are no owners here. Everyone's staying as far apart as they can. No one is allowed in the paddock aside from jockeys and trainers. And as soon as they get off their horses and they weigh back out after the race, they head straight back into the jocks room. There's no lollygagging, anything like that. So, again, it's really an environment of caution, which is a smart thing.
All right, Penelope, we'll let you get back to it. We'll expect to hear from you again a little later on before the Belmont Stakes. Good luck out there.
Thank you. Looking forward to it. Have a great show, guys.
All right, we'll see you soon.
Bye.
All right, we got a couple more people who are getting ready to jump on the stream here. The first of whom is Joe Tartaglia. Joe T on the side,
hey,
inside the live stream today. I'm going to
having
attempt to bring one more person in. I don't know if this is going to work, but we'll try it. Hold on.
Wow, you're a rebel.
Limited to 6. So are you going to leave us, Ashley? All right.
And I'm going to gamble. I'll see you guys later.
Go
Bye.
gamble. We'll see you, Ashley. All right. All right. So next in is Scotty McKeever. Scotty, what's going on?
Hello, guys. Nothing. How are you?
Scotty.
What up, Rachel? Long time.
I know. How you been doing?
Fantastic. Things are great. How about yourself? Good to have you back.
Pretty good. I know. I'm excited to be back racing. I was laughing when Penelope was talking about hand sanitizers and face masks because that's my life now.
I know. Different times we live in right now, for sure. It's kind of going to be weird to see the Belmont Stakes today without anybody there, right?
Oh my gosh, it's so weird to be at the races and walk in and see nothing. And then I'm in the clubhouse studio and I'm like, yes, go 5. And there's nobody in there. It's like, it's just so awkward. I feel so weird. I'm a people person, as most of you know, so I do not like it at all.
Can you tell who the 2 TV personalities are?
We just took over your show, Dan.
Yeah.
Okay, go.
Yeah, seriously, I'm gonna back out, Joe. But I think you labeled this the good looking hour. There's got to be, you know, what's the title for this segment?
I mean, it's clearly evident that this is
A
the
rose
best
between
looking
two
segment of the show. Mostly due to Rachel, but
Well,
we'll tag along.
We brought in the racing dudes a few minutes ago. Haven't heard much from them, guys. We're about we're about 6 minutes away from one of the better betting races of the day. Let's start with the dudes, guys. Talk to me about this allowance race for New York breds. Sprint 6 furlongs on the turf. Really 6 or 5.5. Where are we going?
Yeah, you aren't kidding. This definitely is. I mean, I think it's the best betting race on the card. And basically, what happened. You know, I don't think it's by design, but just how it worked out. You had 6 stakes races on the card. They all kind of look a little chalky. They've been chalky so far. And then you get the 6 non-stakes races, and that's where you got to look for your value. I mean, and this is the one, right? I mean, this is a wild race. I was against the favorite actually in this race altogether. I'm going to try, you know, to beat her, my Sassy Sarah. I actually went all the way almost to the outside with the 12-horse Spicetown Gal. You know, this horse, you know, making her seasonal debut. And I really liked that Irad Ortiz stays on. I really think that was a good thing that he's back. He's staying on. I also thought the 10 horse as well, because of the same angle of Jose Ortiz, you know, hopping on to ride. I thought those were really good signs. Maybe the numbers from 2 to 3 are going to improve. You usually see that first out as a 3-year-old. And, you know, these 2 jockeys being on those horses just kind of gives you a little extra, okay, there's a horse with a little bit of value finally on the card that we could go for. So those were both 8-1 morning line horses, and that's where I landed with my top 2.
All right, are you guys in agreement up there?
Actually, we joked about it earlier because I went through and did my handicapping, and he told me he went value in the race, and I thought, all right, I'm a value kind of player, and I looked, I was like, shit, I didn't even have any of the same ones he had. So it's that kind of race where you're just looking to make some money and go, you know, my horse, the one I went up on top is number 3, Single Verse, and this is at 10-1 right now. A kind of a similar situation where I like that Santana comes aboard here. Trying turf though, you know, for the first time in a while, but did run well at Saratoga on the turf back last year. So I'd like the fact that this horse has ran some decent races in the past, and now you're getting 10-1. And I definitely think you know, there's a lot of upside here. I mean, first start with the trainer, he's at 24%. You know, off the layoff 20%. There's a lot of percentage angles there to take it, and you're getting 10-1. So
I like it. I haven't seen anyone single more 20 to 25 to 1 shots in pick 4s and pick 5s than my man Joe T. So I feel like this is the right race to ask you what price horse you landed on, because I'm assuming you're not playing the favorite in this race.
No, is it bad to be on life support by the 7-3? So
no.
Because that's where we're at. And you know, Dan, if an early pick 5's paying $140, Joe's not having a good day. Yeah, I'm not having a good day. But I did wind up on a little bit of a crazy long shot. Actually, a lot of bit of a crazy long shot. And that's the one, Miss Seppat, who I think last I saw was at like 40-1. And mostly because
50-1.
Yeah.
50-1 now. Sweet. I'm trying to work him into some triples. You know, I think he'll have a tough shot to win. But mostly because I just think he might get a decent trip behind some speed. I don't think there's much pace in the race. I think Duarte's horse coming back off the short break will probably be the speed. And then Winifred J, which I think is the horse right outside of that one. Other than that, I mean, maybe the Misselli horse on the outside runs a little bit early, but I think this one might just sit a trip behind them. And honestly, at the 8th pole, I'm going to hope he has some horse. And Louis Cardenas, who's fairly new to the scene, has actually had a couple of big prices with similar trips, with ground-saving trips inside, ducks out, and we'll see what he's got. You know, again, I'm dabbling with him in triples. And hoping that I can connect with a couple of others, mostly the outside horses. I like the 12. I like the 14 a little bit as well. But yeah, that's my crazy one.
Ms. Sebpat, 52-1 in climbing. Joe T, ladies and gentlemen. Rachel, how about you?
I actually went with Winifred J. I like that. I think the 4 is a strong choice, but I'm going to have to try to beat the favorites today. Is going to be my story. So I think this one adding blinkers and, 7 of the 11 of these horses are coming off a long layoff, and I am having a hell of a time at Indiana Grand with the exact same thing. These horses are, state breds, and they're coming off long layoffs. It's hard to handicap a race. You don't know who's going to come off and just bam, not need a tightener. And, it's kind of one of those things. I'm going to go with that angle, that I'm going to go against the favorite, and I'm going to go with one of the ones that does have a start in 2020, one of the few, and has, ran well, a win over the Belmont Inner Turf, and we'll see if I can get it. But I've got 5, 4, 8, 10. I also like the 10 too, Racing Dudes as well. Light in the Sky for sure. Another angle, and that one coming off the pace as well. So I like that. So to round it off. So I'm going to do 5, 4, 8, 10 in the 7th race.
All right, so a little bit of a different projection, I guess, you're making on the pace with, look, you can look at this race a couple different ways. I think Joe's looking for a slower pace, even though you may get some from Winifred J and the Duarte horse that he mentioned, who is stronger than you know. How about you, Scotty? How do you see the pace unfolding, and who'd you land on?
I think I agree with the Racing Dudes. I really like Miss Sassy Sarah. Awful layoff, but this horse ran really good in September 13th. 6 furlong, same thing here at Belmont Park. And that was a really good race, winning easily against a pretty good group of maidens. Then goes up in a grade 2, going 8.5 furlongs on turf, and didn't run bad. Then off the layoff, right before the layoff, goes on dirt. Didn't seem to like that. Hence the layoff. Now comes back. I think this is going to be preferred on turf, and I think the 8 horse is tactical, and I think the 8 will be tough.
All right, Joe, what are you drinking?
I'm having a little vodka soda, splash of lemonade.
Nice. Oh, Rachel.
You're Rachel.
Ain't no laws when you're drinking claws, baby.
I love that. That's great.
David, how do you not have a personal endorsement deal with them by now?
I don't know.
What are they waiting on?
I'm like,
You're a P1 customer. Like, what are they waiting on?
I don't know. Somebody call them. Scotty, you're in Cali. Like, make a call from you, bro.
You guys are making me thirsty.
I mean, how did you show up without a drink? I emailed you guys.
I know. I was about to leave right now and go get a drink.
Hang tight. We'll cut you loose soon, and you can pour. Bram, real quick. I mean, we got a minute here before they're off here in this race. What do you think? Who are you picking in this race?
I got a funny feeling that this single verse, feels like a warm up for a bigger race for him. So I'm gonna take. I like the number. What do I get? 10-1, 11-1 right now.
11-1 right now. Yeah.
So I'm gonna go there. I'm gonna go single burst, and I like Ancient Brown a little bit now that he's in the field as well on the outside 14 horse. So I'm gonna box 3-14 in an exacta, and I'm gonna take single burst. I'm gonna take a shot on it, take a stand on him.
Okay, I like it. I landed on the 10 horse, been mentioned a few times, Light in the Sky. I'm actually surprised 9-1. I thought the price would be a little shorter on that one. It has the win sprinting on the turf, second career start. The first race was washed off. Was basically swooped the whole field in that race, including my Sassy Sarah, and didn't have the best of trips there. Last out was in against Tougher, and any horse coming in from Maryland, as you all know, I'm going to be betting on. So there's that. We're going to get to some Belmont Stakes thoughts here in a minute, but as they prepare to enter the gate for this 7th race, I want to ask everyone a question, and that is, who is most prepared to actually call this race? Because we're not going to be showing it. Who could do the best race call here?
Not us.
Yeah.
Well, Scotty didn't say no. I mean, so Scotty, it might come down to you.
I had to do that one time actually on TVG, and that was really interesting. I was scared to death, and and the sound didn't work. And then I got the producer in my ear that says, "Scotty, you gotta make the call." I'm like, "You got to be kidding me right now."
I've heard this story actually. That's why I said I knew he could do it.
Yeah. Yeah, it wasn't terrible. I was looking down a lot. Okay, that horse, easy 8. Yeah, so it wasn't Trevor Denman by any stretch, but it's a memory nonetheless.
And of course, this is the first field with double-digit horses.
Well, this is going to be your chance to redeem yourself. You mentioned TVG. If you have a chance to get your bet in now, you can do it. If not, save it for one of the other races. You can see on the bottom of the screen there, we got a promotion today, $200 risk-free bet. You bet $200 on a horse. They win, you win. They lose, you get your money back. It's pretty simple. You go to tvg.com, use that promo code ABR when you're signing up. Scotty, they're all in the gate. You got to just take another swing at this. Come on, give it to us.
Get out of it.
All right, let's hold on here. Hold on here. We'll do this.
He's got it. Mine's lagged. Mine's behind you. My odds have been behind you because I'm watching on my phone on twinspires.com.
Let's see. Well, they've been in there for, okay, now they're off.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, they're taking off right now. There's the 4-horse Stronger Than Now. This one is the top Scotty pick on the algorithms here for us. But I went away from this one. There's a Scotty long shot that Rachel picked. Winifred J. Yeah, and then clear 5-2 or 5-1, and they're well back to the 3-horse single verse.
They're moving.
And the 11-horse on the outside in 4th, Carnacy Angel, and then long way back to the 12-horse Spicetown Gal. But 2-horse race right now, but you can see the 12-horse Spicetown Gal has a lot of horse right now cruising up on the outside. Going to end up wide a little bit, but is moving fairly easily there under Irad Ortiz and going to go on by and probably win this race for fun. There's the 12-horse, 9-2. There's the 8, My Sassy Sarah, coming on a little bit, but probably going to have to settle for 2nd, or the 10-horse there, Light in the Sky, going to get up. So it looks like it's going to be 12-10-8
there we go.
in the end as the 12-horse Spicetown Gal holds on under Irad Ortiz.
Well done, Scotty. Very nice. I've actually got my wife jumping up and down. We got her back betting today. So, Marty, what did you hit? The exacta, the try? What do you got?
She got the exacta there.
Oh, all right. She said I'm out of the first leg of the pick 4. So she's she's advanced. She's alive. All right. That's key. That's key. We got sustained action here. Awesome stuff, Scotty. All right, we got one more guest on standby. Racing Dudes, it's your time to be excused, but before you go, I need to know from each of you who's your play in the Belmont Stakes.
You know, I didn't really get fancy. I kind of think you have to make up reasons for Tiz the Law to lose, and the dynamics of the race just don't set up for him to lose. You know, I think there's going to be enough pace in this race. I think if it was Tappa to win on the lead by himself, then you can probably try to play against. But with Pneumatic in there and with 4 left, who I think isn't going to be much of a play at the end, but will be a factor in the pace, I think it sets up really well for Tiz the Law. Tiz the Law and Soli Volante are my top 2 in that one.
Yeah, I mean, I think back up the truck, Tiz the Law, dump it all on. He stands so far out in this group. I think he heads into the second leg of the Triple Crown, which is also known as the Kentucky Derby this year,
or the Travers,
yeah, I guess. But I think he wins for sure. Yeah.
All right, very good, guys. Thanks for taking a few minutes joining us. Best of luck the rest of the day. All right.
Thanks, Dan.
Thanks, guys. See ya.
All right, take it easy. All
Dan,
right.
Next time we have them on, you got to give me time to tell my Springfield, Missouri stories. I was sitting there patiently waiting to talk about taking a trip to Springfield, Missouri, and you've given me no opportunity to speak about it. You've stacked, in TV parlance, you've stacked the show tight, Dan. Very tight. Yes.
I have, and we're running heavy again. We've got our next guest in, Emily from Optics EQ. Hey, Emily, how's it going?
Hi, good. You're gonna see me like going all over the place. So I got 4 different monitors, and this is a work day for me.
Well, we should have had you on to call the last race. I mean, if you got all the monitors in front of you.
Yeah, my language is a little different than calling a race, but I could.
So how's the day going so far? You making any money yet, or?
Yeah, staying busy. I'm actually kind of focusing on Laurel and Woodbine. I don't know if I can say that on here, but that's kind of where I'm at.
You can definitely say
I've
that.
got Belmont on as well, so I'm just kind of looking for opportunities as they come up.
Very good. Bram, do you want to tell your Springfield, Missouri story? Or is it just?
No, I needed them to be there. Like, I don't know if you know, but there's like a local late night talk show that occurs in a theater in the middle of Springfield, Missouri, that I was invited to and was a guest on. And I'm certain, because 8 people live there, that those guys must have gone to it at some point. So I just wanted to share that conversation with them, that I'd been to Springfield and been to the Mystery Hour and been on TV there. And I felt like that would have been a nice story to share, but what's the point now? Because Rachel doesn't care. So like, why bother telling that?
I'm intrigued. I'm very intrigued.
You have any good Indiana stories?
How's life in Indiana?
Well, my husband's in the other room, and he's actually lived like an hour and a half from Missouri. So do you want me to get him and ask him so we can just give you your real moment in the sun?
Is it possible that your husband would know of a local television show that takes place
Really
an hour from where he used to live?
No,
Yes.
it's Saturday, and he's a redneck. He's probably shirtless in there and jeans or something. It would be a complete embarrassment. I mean, I'm in yoga pants, so let's all just get honest here, okay?
Can we bring him out, double fist and White Claws? I think that would add something to this.
He would die before he drank a White Claw. He's like, no, he doesn't drink, actually.
All right.
Let's
not start with White Claw.
I'll have another. Thank you.
So we've had Rachel, Scotty, and Joe on for a little bit. We haven't talked Belmont Stakes with you in particular. Let's go around the room a little bit. Rachel, what do you think of Belmont Stakes? You trying to beat Tiz Law?
I mean, I think I agree with what Bram was saying. I was watching right before I came on, and it's just, I think that he's the one to beat. Do I think he's going to win? Absolutely. It's no fun betting that heavy odds. So, I mean, from a bettor's standpoint, I'm going to try to beat him. I really like the one Tap It to Win. I like Dr. Post as well, but I think Tap It to Win is one that, has a little bit of a pace advantage, has a little bit of speed, really fast time last time out at 1 mile and 16th. So looking at the time, I really like that. But this is a pretty big step up from that. So not really sure how that's going to play out. I don't mind the inside draw as well. And then a bit of a long shot. I think it was Ash that mentioned Farmington Road. I really like Farmington Road, for Todd Pletcher. He's got 1 of 2 chances in here. And obviously, he's won this race a couple of times, but exiting the Arkansas Derby. So that was just a really nice race. And with, the big names being out this year and it just being such a strange year, I wouldn't be shocked if we could go off of what everybody thinks is going to happen and see something, different. So Farmington Road is a bit of my long shot play probably today. So yeah, I think it's Tiz Law's race to lose, honestly. I mean, he obviously is the most talented, and if the race doesn't go his way, if he doesn't, gets his set off the pace like he likes, might go a different route. Like that 1 third place finish, it wasn't his way, and he didn't fare well with it. He didn't really know what to do when things didn't go exactly how I think that he wanted the race to go. So if that's the case, maybe it sets up for somebody else. And I really like Farmington Road, but all these races are Sol Volante, everybody keeps talking about. I mean, I'm gonna make a whole lot of bets, but I think my long shot is Farmington Road, and then I really like the 5 as well. I like the 5 and I like the 1, obviously, Tap It to Win. So those are my 2 that I'm gonna throw out there for everybody.
All right. It sounds like if you were to do the $200 risk-free bet, obviously there's no point in putting that money on Tiz the Law. You'd put that on Farmington Road?
Heck yes, you read my mind, Dan. So I love you.
There we go. That's the website. That's the promo code. Joe, what do you do in the Belmont Stakes?
Yeah, I mean, it's as a fan of New York racing, I will be rooting for Barkley Tag. I will be rooting for Manny Franco. They're both as New York racing as you can possibly get, and I do think they have the best chance. And actually, like Rachel, I do like Farmington Road as maybe an underplay, maybe box those 2 up. But also as Dan, from being at Belmont many times on this day, the best races are the two after the Belmont Stakes, always, every year. They're just great big fields betting races, and today's no different. There's actually a couple of nice races afterwards. So I may play that late pick 4, which usually kind of goes unplayed a little bit. People don't realize there's that late pick 4. Maybe single Tis the Law on that one and try and connect with a price horse in the 11th or 12th. But rooting for Barkley and Manny to take this one home for New York.
Dan, that's a hot take. The best race on Belmont Stakes Day is not
race 12.
Oh no! Well, listen. Most years it's race 13 and 14 too.
Yeah.
8 o'clock at night when the last race goes off.
Well, throw us a number there in one of those last 2 races.
Well, I like. I'm forgetting which race it is. I like Argonne, the Bond horse on the turf race. I think that's the 11th race.
Yeah, that's the 11th race.
I'm gonna mess around there a little bit. Maybe do like a Tis the Law, Argonne single in the late pick 4, something like that.
All right. Scotty, Joe just threw down the gauntlet. He not only gave us some thoughts on the Belmont Stakes, he also gave us a price play in race 11 or one of the later races. So now you have to do it too. Belmont Stakes and a price play in the late races.
All right, so I don't think Tis the Law is going to get beat. I just don't. This is one of the better bred horses that I've seen in a long time, and I think he's the real deal. And I'm happy for Barkley Tag, especially Manny Franco as well. And I think Tis the Law is the horse to beat. Maybe Dr. Post, the 9 horse, if I was going to pick a long shot in this race. Only lightly raced 3 races, but has been moving up in class steadily and has done well in those races. As far as I'll give you a long shot in the 12th race over at Belmont Park. Power Up Painter. It's a Scotty long shot, and this horse has a decent win percentage. And this one's been knocking on the door. Gets a good post. I think there's some turf breeding on the bottom side. Has done well at 6 furlongs on the turf. And I think that Power Up Painter in the 12th at Belmont Park.
I like it. Next up, Emily. We've also got you. We let you know that we were going to have you on at this time, so they give us some thoughts on the upcoming Acorn Stakes. You can start with that one if you like.
Sure. So I'm just looking at it right now. It's figured that Gamine would be a big favorite in this race, and I think that she's logical. Obviously she's a super short price, but the thing about her, she broke her maiden. It was a 4-horse field. She just made an easy lead. She had her own way on the front end. It was kind of the race she's supposed to win, and she did. And then she had a big pace advantage at Oakland Park in that most recent start. And it was, the first time around 2 turns, and still take nothing away from her as a big race. But both those races were races that she was kind of in a position where she was supposed to win and did what she's supposed to do. Today could be the case as well, but I think just situational, you just want to keep that in mind. She's going to cut back to 1 turn. I don't know if necessarily this was the plan for her. And so, I'm willing to take a shot against. The rest of the field, there's some they'd really kind of have to step up. But the number 4, what's her name? Casual. She kind of has some upside. She's been improving with each race. Again, I know she's coming out of some softer fields, but you can kind of make the same case for Gamine. On the improve, I like the pattern just as far as distance. She got the 6 furlong race, the 7 furlong race, now the 1 turn mile. All kind of a positive progression. She's got a tactical speed. She can pass horses. And so I just think, if Gamine backs up a little bit or is just not there to run a race, I think Casual can get in there. Second choice, right?
Yeah. Well, let's do this. We'll come back for your Belmont Stakes thoughts. I wonder what everyone else on here is thinking about this upcoming race, the Acorn. We've got 20 minutes, but let's just dive into it because we've got some new guests that are on tap in the waiting room. Bram, just real quick, what's your thought on your thoughts here in this Acorn?
Kind of like the last race, I like a lot of them, so that's a problem. I'm not going to bet the heavy favorite, the 1 horse. I don't see a reason to do that. I like Casual a lot here. Big jump up in class here, but 2 for 2, good strong speed figures, so I like that. I think Perfect Alibi off for a while now, but probably got a good shot here. Consistency, I like him. I think Lucrezia, I guess is how they pronounce it. feels like the wild card of the bunch to me. That
Joe's favorite jockey.
Yeah, I mean, like, listen, like, if he puts out his best, there feels like one big target to chase down, and maybe he's the one to do it. But he's a wild card. He's up and down. That always scares me. So I'm probably leaning towards right now going casual. Get some decent odds with casual. Go against the favorite, and I'll feel pretty confident with it.
Yep, I'm with you entirely. Rachel, before we let you go, you want to throw a quick pick out for the Acorn?
Yeah, I'm looking kind of at the Mark Cassidy trainee Perfect Alibi. I think in this 1 mile race, I've been in a mile and 16 a couple of times. You know, it's a question mark here at the distance, but I like Ira Ortiz as a board. I like the connections, the layoff, another question mark. Love that angle. It's not. But yeah, I think when coming out of the juveniles and stuff last year, had a really nice year. Last year was always right there. You know, might not have got it done in the last couple, but was always right there, very competitive, close to the action. So I think that this one would be my pick off first glance, the 7 Perfect Alibi.
All right, Rachel, we are so happy you made some time for us today. Before you go, real quick, just let everybody know race days if they want to get in on some Indiana Grand action. By the way, Loper, 11.99%. Is that right? Is that the thing? Yeah, go ahead. Hit us with it.
Our pick 5 is 11.99%. And then right after we announced that, Canterbury came out and was like, oh yeah, well we got 10. So imitation is the greatest form of flattery, though. So.
But that'll back. Bring it down. Bring it back down to 10.
9.99.
9.99. Emily, I love where your head's at. I would if I was making the decision. But so it's the last 5 thoroughbred races every day, and we change our race days Monday through Thursday, which it was the handle was just insane. Let's hope we can keep up the action. But yeah, we got a lot of action on that pick 5, and it's pretty exciting. And Indiana Derby. July 8th, and we're going to open up to fans on July 4th. I don't know what capacity that's going to be at, but we are going to allow fans back starting that week of the 6th, the first week of Derby. So a lot of exciting stuff coming up.
All right, Rachel, we love you. Come back on soon. Good luck the rest of the day, all right?
All right, bye.
All right, we'll see you soon. All right, we're getting ready to welcome in another guest here. You know him from the Red Board Rewind within the Money Media. He's also the co-founder of the Daily Gallop, Spencer Luganbuehl. Spencer, welcome to the show, brother.
Dan, how you doing today? Exciting day for sure.
Good. You got the headset, professional, a podcaster. He's got clear audio. Love that.
I got to. Can't be having this stuff go,
He's got the beard. I think that's part of the podcaster aesthetic as well.
If you work for Pete Fornatale, you have to have a beard. JK just, went the other way by having the hair grow out too much over the quarantine.
I do a lot of podcasts. I didn't know, is there a podcast look? I didn't know there was an official one. Like we went through the phase of the craft bartender look. Do we have a podcast look? Does that exist?
I think it's similar to the craft bartender look.
Well, you're looking great. Appreciate you being on, making a few minutes for us here. We were just going around the room and taking a look at the Acorn. Joe, before we let you go, we want to give you a chance to chime in on that race.
Yeah, I mean, I'm taking a shot with Pleasant Orb. Now I think we've basically listed all 6 of the horses, 7 of the horses. Like Toothley Charles Fipke and has always brought a horse that has been a contender in the Acorn, and with all of his unbridled horses. And this one's just going to get first jump to me on paper. And again, it'll be, I'm hoping the track maybe carries her a little bit further than her class today. I don't think you can be too far back in a race like this. So we'll see. We'll see if Manny and Tag can maybe get a jump on the day, get a jump on the field here, and at a good number.
All right. Well, a little disappointing. We went from 51-1 to 26-1, but we'll try to make do. Joe, we love you, brother. Great seeing you. And hopefully we see you back here soon on a race day somewhere.
I'll see you at Saratoga in a couple months.
Sounds good. We'll be there.
See you, Joe.
Bye, guys.
Be good, brother.
Thank you again.
All righty.
I have a feeling Joe would talk me out of every literal instinct I have. I run around with him too much. You talk me off of everything.
That's what he's there for.
Yeah.
Welcoming in another guest here, long time racing dudes, writer, contributor, Saratoga Slim.
What up? How's it
good.
going, bro? My man Dan. Yo, we
There it
go
is.
way back. We go way back. I started writing for Dan's website back in 2015, 2016, I think.
Uh-huh.
So he's
Long
my boy
time.
for a long time. Thanks for having me on, Dan.
That's too dark to be White Claw, though. That's my only thing. If I taught you, I obviously didn't teach you well if you're not drinking White Claw.
Drinking out of my Belmont Stakes 2015
Nice.
American Pharaoh glass. Just drinking some Stella. You know, nothing too crazy.
Respect.
Right, right.
We're just going around the room now talking about the Acorn. Scotty, you're up. Are you going to beat Gamine? You're going to beat Casual? How are you going to approach it?
I agree with Rachel. I thought Perfect Alibi is probably the only horse that has a chance of beating Gamine. I think Gamine has a lot of speed, going to be right there. I think the only thing I'm worried about with the one is getting pressure from Lucrezia, the 2 horse, who's very tactical and fast, and that one might run pretty good under Julian Leparoux. So I like the 2 a little bit, but I'm gonna go with Perfect Alibi, and the reason is this one's coming out, has a lot of class from my numbers. Off the layoff, Irad Ortiz, Mark Cassie. I'm gonna stick with the 7 horse, but I'm definitely worried about the 2, Lucrezia. But only the 1 horse, if the 1 clears, and I'm not sure that she will. This 2 horse is very, very fast and can win this race, and lightly raced. That was a really good race in the Gulfstream Park Oaks. So she's talented.
Yep.
So
Yeah, I mean, look,
not to be confusing, I think I'm going to go with the 7 horse and a horse that might come from behind because I think there's some speed in here, guys.
Yep. No, that makes sense. That makes a lot of sense. Looking at the board right now, Gamine is 3-5. So obviously
That's too low. That's too low.
It's lower than I expected, to be honest. Casual 9-2 is your second choice. Boy, that's pretty appealing at this moment. Perfect Alibi is 5-1. And that next tier of horses, you got Lucrezia at 7-1, and Glass Ceiling at 13-1. The long shots here, the one that Joe mentioned, Pleasant Orb 27-1, Water White 28-1. Before we get thoughts on the Acorn from Spencer and Slim, want to give Emily a chance to talk Belmont because we circled back in a weird way, but we're now finally back to you for some of your insight on the Belmont Stakes.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I think if you're having this conversation about Belmont Stakes, you got to start with Tiz the Law, and I think he's coming in here as the horse to beat. I mean, no real surprise. He's shown up in those races. He's been tested for class. All those things, they fit, but it's really not as big of an edge over the other horses in this field. You've got some improving types. This isn't kind of a typical Triple Crown type year. So, I mean, in terms of trip, he's been having it his own way, chasing some softer paces, and there might just be a fast pace in here. I mean, if he tries to go with number 1, who tap it to win, from the inside, the way he won last time out, they're going to go. Number 6, 4 left. I mean, what other choice do they have? They have to go. Modernist, he has some speed too. So those horses might not stick around, but they're going to keep it contentious. And Tiz the Law being from the outside, he's got to kind of use a little bit to get into that position, into the race. And so if he gets close, chasing up to a fast pace, which is something he's never done before, he could be a little bit vulnerable. I mean, in the other scenario is they take back, then they get in some traffic, which you've already seen is not something that he wants to do at Churchill Downs. So there's a couple areas where just in terms of trip, in terms of race design, where he could be just a little bit caught up and just depending on the tactics, he's got to overcome that. And again, there's horses in here that are improving, are coming into their own, they're coming in fresh. I like the 2 Todd Pletcher horses. Number 9, Dr. Post. He's got a little bit more positional speed, tactical speed. He could kind of sit right behind that first flight. His last trip out at Gulfstream Park was got a lot of experience out of it, and I thought he showed a lot of class. He had to overcome some adversity, and then in order to win, I really like that effort. And then respect the move up in class. Farmington Road, this is a horse I've been following since the fairgrounds. He had a trip there that day, caught the eye, and then he's just been completely against the racetrack over at Oakland Park, against the bias last time out, and just hasn't had the right race shapes. And those are coming out of some really good races, better than Look Race in the Oakland Stakes. And because of that, he can sit a little bit closer than he has been in the past. So he doesn't necessarily have to look like the deep closer that he does on paper. This race shape, the kind of one turn, the way he's coming into the race, he can be a little bit handier. And I just think, he could kind of get the trip here. And I'm not leaving him out. I think he'll be probably a little bit under this 15-1 morning line, but I think that's pretty fair to take a shot with him. And that's kind of the way I'm going in this race is Todd Pletcher, 5-9, 9-5.
Look, Bram, you've been, like really adamant about, look, tis the law, tis the law. I like what I'm hearing here, man. Farmington Road in particular, dude, that horse is Oaklawn Stakes. Watch that race. That horse can close. That horse can move. If that horse gets a little bit of pace to run into, Bram, are we convincing you at all? Are you at all
on Farmington Road?
Yeah.
Listen, I'm not going to argue with Emily because she's like got an algorithm that I'll never understand, and therefore, like, certainly her information is far superior
The race
to
are
mine.
running, I watch them with my eyes, and I write down the notes.
My algorithm lives in my stomach. It's just called my gut, and normally it's wrong. So, like, I'm not going to argue with her information. But after the Arkansas Derby, I got a hard time buying into Farmington Road right now as like the one. If Tislaw's gonna lose, I'm having a hard time picking him. I do like the other Pletcher horse, Dr. Post. Like, I do like that one. I don't like the odds on that. I think it's a little lower than I would have expected based on what the jump is and what he's doing here. And that's kind of why I'm leaning a little bit with Max Power. If I'm going to go on one of those lightly tested, might take a big jump type horses, those are the two I kind of like, Dr. Post and Max Power. But I get it on Farmington Road, and Pletcher's very attractive no matter who he has in a race like this. But off the Arkansas Derby, I got a really hard time supporting him in this race to knock off Tislaw.
It's fair.
Yeah,
Look.
I mean, as far as the Arkansas Derby, he was against the bias that day. So, watching those races, it's kind of tough. And I thought, let me just kind of like go over notes real quick. I mean, being against the bias, which was inside and speed favoring, which he was completely against. So, I think he has upside off that, but I could see where people are, kind of think he's a little bit one pace.
Well, and he's a bad breaker as well, right? I mean, he just doesn't break well. And
no, he breaks fine. He's just been in really fast paces, and so he's further back in those two races. But he actually breaks fine.
Bram,
I don't know that the breeding is there for this one to go this far as well. I don't know. I mean, as far as at this level.
Yeah.
I mean, the Oaklawn Stakes race, I mean, that was a much easier group, and this horse ran good and finished up. So I just think at this level, I'm not sure that Farmington Road is good enough to win, but certainly a horse that you have to consider for the exotics. I don't think Tiz the Law is facing that much, guys. This is a really nice horse, and there's not much in here.
Bram, I just wanted to say one thing about Farmington Road. Do you know who else finished sort of evenly or flat in the Arkansas Derby last year?
Who's that?
Country House.
Well, Country House also didn't win the Kentucky Derby, but whatever. You keep telling yourself that, but fine.
Even if he finished second, whatever. Okay, let's move on to Spencer real quick. Spencer, you got some fans in the house here. I'm trying to find the comment. Oh, here it is. You got some Daily Gallop fans.
Hey guys.
Let's kind of, we'll have you do a double take for us. You could start with the Acorn, since that's coming up next, and then give us some thoughts on the Belmont after that.
So obviously in the Acorn, the first question you have to ask yourself is, Gamine at a lower price, are you willing to take that? The first note I wrote was positive test coming out of Oaklawn. So how the fact that this horse is even racing today, I don't understand that in the first place. But when I see the 98 buyer, was that with whatever was in her system, whatever's going on. So I look at that as a negative. And the last race, nothing really came out of it except for Speech, who ran second in an optional or a listed stake. So she didn't really face much. The two horses I ended up with, the two Lucrezia. 3 horses came out of that Gulfstream Park Oaks to win. Swiss Skydiver was one. Tonalist Shape was another. And I believe another horse won in a allowance race. So just coming out of a key race like that, the exact opposite. And when you look at the board, you get 7-1 on a horse like that, who's also taking that step forward, I think, as a 3-year-old. When you see 72, 71, now 84 and 82, I just like that step forward. And if Perfect Alibi beats me again, I might throw a book through a window, because my guys in the bet squad, these guys are always friends with Cassie. They're like, this horse can't lose. This horse isn't going to lose. And I think he lost the whole meet and made the meet back on 2 bets on Perfect Alibi last year at Saratoga. The horse is going to be closing in. Everyone else is going to want to go. And I just have a feeling that if Gamine doesn't break well and Lucrezia does, now she's behind the 8 ball with the 2 horse. And then she also has to worry about Perfect Alibi coming from out of the clouds to take another shot at her as well.
Okay. Are you so? There's actually a pick 5 starting in this leg. Who are you using in this leg?
I would use 2-7.
2-7. Okay.
7
Belmont,
looks great on the track. I mean, she looks really good. She's an included good play at 5-1 in my opinion. That's perfect alibi.
Yeah, perfect alibi.
Team Rachel.
So look, I mean, you guys. So I mean, at least on Spencer's play, he's leaving out not only Gamine, he's also leaving off Casual. But that's the way to get ahead in some of these sequences. Look, if you're trying to make money, you got to land a horse that other people aren't going to have on their tickets. This is a leg. I've spoken to a lot of people. We've had a lot of people on have talked about it. Some people are singling Gamine here. Some people are going too deep with Casual. You could beat those two, you might be in good shape. Spencer, jump to the Belmont Stakes for us and tell us how you see that one going.
Everyone, I mean, the fact that Tis the Law is morning line 6-5, probably going to be lower. I wrote should win, and because this horse has been looking at this race for a long time, and the field that he's up against isn't that much. The only horse that I think that has a good shot is the 2 Sol Volante. I love the race. The fact that I would put this horse on top is because they're back in 10 days, knowing they're going up against what could be a monster or a freak like Tis the Law, and for Patrick Biancone to bring the horse back in 10 days after a nice effort. I read on DRF or one of the news reports, they said that looked great in the morning. The best that he's ever looked. I just think that the price difference is going to be, even if it is only first against third choice, the price difference is way more than enough to help this horse in where the race might be speedy up front as well.
That makes sense. Slim, we've got. I was going to ask you to look at these 2 races, but you've also got a request specifically for you for your Jaipur pick.
Right.
They look 6 furlongs on the turf, always Slim.
Right.
Real quick though, let's start with the Acorn since we're only 2 minutes away. Tell us who you like in the Acorn.
So I'll give you my pick 3 sequence then. I'm playing just Gamine single, not overthinking it. Bob Baffert, New York. Yep, this horse had the positive that hasn't come through yet for Oaklawn. I don't think it's a problem. I think this horse probably will air. No parole. Won to Woody Stevens on the lead. I think speed might be carrying, and I'll just gonna go with Gamine. I'll play a straight $20 exacta. Gamine over perfect alibi, just based on her back class. She'll be closing. If some of these horses try to get burnt up with Gamine, she might be the one that's coming. She has the best class in the group. Then moving on to the Jaipur, I like 3 horses. You got to play Pure Sensation, 9-year-old, gonna be on the lead, and you got to throw in the female in the group, Alexandra, just like her class, and also my number 1 pick in there is Stubbins. He just seems to be the wise guy horse in the Jaipur, so that would be my pick 3 right there. I'm gonna have heavy $20 pick 3 with just Gamine to Stubbins to Tis the Law. And then, come back with some other pick 3s for those other horses. And I'm just going to single. Are you hearing an echo?
A little bit. Hold on. How about now?
Okay. All right. Now I'm good. Yeah.
There you go.
And then I just love Tis the Law. I mean, I just love this horse. I'm a New York bred. He's a New York bred. Funny Side's my favorite horse. So I'm hoping Saratoga gets this big win. I remember 17 years ago, standing in the rain to see Funny Side lose to Empire Maker. It was a horrible day. I was soaked through my pants. I had everything riding on Funny Side. So this will be the end of the Triple Crown.
That's it.
For
Your
Saratoga.
pants dry today. The pants dry
17 years. 17 years I've been waiting for these pants to dry. And they're going to get the 3rd leg, Saratoga, as the first leg. So I also like Pneumatic and Tap It to Win. I think Tap It to Win will be in the lead comer for home. And then we'll see if you could hold on. I think you'll be able to hold on for at least 2nd or 3rd. So I'll mix in Pneumatic, who will be on the pace. I don't think the pace is going to be super crazy hot. I think if 4 left goes, it's Johnny V. That's why I like Johnny V. You got to stick with Johnny V. He's on Gamine and he's on Tap It to Win. I don't think Johnny V is stupid enough to get into a pace duel with 4 left. He'll set up shop. He's been able to stalk in the past. And then, he showed that ridiculous speed in the stretch, just pulling away from everybody only 16 days ago. So I like Tap It to Win. And then Sol Volante at the bottom with Superfectus. He's going to be closing, and he might, triples for him too. So those are my 4 horses. Box them up and call them home.
There you go. Slim delivering and over delivering for us, giving us a pick 3. We've got our next guest on deck, Scotty. I think you're the longest tenured guest, so we can let you get back to life after this. Scotty, thank you for joining us. We appreciate it.
All right, my pleasure, guys. I enjoyed it. Thanks, Dan.
All right, we'll see you soon. Let's see. I think we got Nikki here. Nikki, you there? Do you hear us?
I can hear you.
Turn us landscape. Turn the camera around a little bit so we can get the wide view. We got black bars on the side.
Missing.
The roller coaster.
It's fine. Don't worry about it. Landscape.
Wherever you are right now, I'd like to go there. Where are you right now?
Yeah, Nikki, where are you at right now? Where are you coming live from?
I'm in Colorado.
Okay, very good. I know it's been a big week for you with Royal Ascot for you. It's just as big as Belmont Stakes, and you've been featured nationally in the UK. I mean, people are because of your Royal Ascot tweets. Tell us about your week.
It was a crazy week. Well, I was really excited. I love Royal Ascot every week. I look forward to it every year. So I wanted to join in to the social media of everyone posting their Royal Ascot at home pictures. And while I was taking my picture outside, my dog kept coming up to me. So I was like, oh, let me go, bring him in the picture because I have an English bulldog. So everyone loves English bulldogs. And as soon as I posted the picture, I got BBC reached out to me like right away. So I was really excited about that. And then they featured me on their like little socialite page. And I actually had a bunch of people from connect with me like all over the place on my LinkedIn page. So people were Googling my name, and then the BBC morning show host reached out to me to post a picture on Ladies' Day. So it's been a crazy week.
That's awesome. Well, you're already ahead. You're winning.
Yes.
And hopefully we could add to that. We brought you on to chat a little bit about the Jaipur, which is coming up a race from now. But in the next couple of seconds here, you're going to have the horses loading into the gate for the Acorn. We've got a range of opinions. Gamine is obviously the heavy favorite, 3-5 right now. Just behind her, you've got Casual and Perfect Alibi at 7-2 and 5-1. Good value if you listen to everyone on this show, especially some interest on Perfect Alibi on the outside. 5-1 seems like very fair value on that horse. So
and Glass Ceiling too. I have Glass Ceiling in there.
Yeah, and you're getting a real nice price there. Yeah.
I nominate Slim to call this race. Can I nominate Slim to call this one?
You can absolutely not. He's got to unmute himself. I think he muted himself. Go ahead. You got to unmute yourself, Slim.
Hopefully I'm not too far behind here.
Just give it to us, man. Give it to us.
They just broke from the gate.
All right, I got to go on a different.
Oh, you're ahead.
Oh, he's just pulling the race up. Emily, you call
way ahead of me.
She's being pressed by the 2, 4, 5, and 7 are all kind of chasing her, putting pressure, but she's got the lead in the rail. 3, I never get these names right anyway, so we're going to go with numbers. 3 moves up on the inside. Now she's kind of sitting in the pocket trip behind those horses. The number 7, very wide. She washed out at some point. She's kind of starting to lose ground, but still in hand. 4's covered up. But Gamine's still pretty comfortable in the front end. 2 tracking. 7 getting a little shuffle. 5 is wide at this point. Gamine's starting to make her move, get a little separation. 2 and 3 are chasing. 6 trying to move up from the inside. Had a little bit of traffic, hit the brakes coming around the turn. 5 is out of the race. She's being not eased up, not pulled up, but and no push at this point, out of contention. 7 still very wide. Gamine kind of starting to lug out a little bit around the turn, trying to keep her straight. 6 is on the inside, trying to make a run at her. Everybody else is just grinding along.
And
No
Gamine
run.
is pulling away here.
7 is wide. Gamine drifting out with a big lead.
She's drifting out, but she's like 7 lengths ahead of everybody. So I told you, Gamine would err in this spot. This is the coming out party, man. This Baffin ain't coming to New York for some no nonsense. Look at this. This horse is going to win by 14 lengths. It's ridiculous.
That was ridiculous, and I feel like a total idiot for singling Casual now. So anyway,
you guys overthought that. What'd I say?
No, No regrets there. That was, I mean, it was a dominant win from her, but
Pleasant Orb got second though. Pleasant Orb got second. That was a good bet.
That wasn't pretty. I would still try to look to beat her next time out if she runs again, which we shall see.
Pleasant Orb 39-1. That was also Joe T's parting thought. 39-1 on Pleasant Orb finishing second.
Nick Tammer also had that horse second. So
nice.
Yeah, should have known. Oh,
That's how you got to make money in this race with a 3 to 5. You can't be picking chalk. You have to go either by trying to beat the chalk or play these longer shots in second and third.
Bram, thoughts? How are you approaching the rest of this card?
With a lot of caution based on what's happened the last couple of races. I did not have the 39-1 horse in this race. I liked Casual and I liked Perfect Alibi. What did they run? 6-7 in that? So why don't we just ask someone who knows what they're talking about right now, what their opinion is moving forward?
Well, let's just jump ahead real quick to the Jaipur. Emily, I know that you may have to jump off in a second, so we'll let you do that. Thank you for being so courteous with your time. We always love having you on, and we look forward to seeing you again here pretty soon.
All right. Was that good practice for maybe some Woodbine stuff coming up?
Yeah. Tease, wink, wink. Watch this space.
All right. Thank you, guys. Good luck.
All right. Thanks, Emily. We'll see you soon. Nikki, start us off here with the Jaipur, if you'd like. That's the next race. We've kind of covered from a number of different. We've talked about pace. Slim mentioned this too. He thought that in the Jaipur you're going to have Pure Sensation on the lead, potentially Loose on the lead. Then again, you've got Hidden Scroll, who knows with Hidden Scroll. If Hidden Scroll gets out of the gate, maybe it's Hidden Scroll applying some pressure. How do you see the race unfold, and who did you end up picking?
I picked Hidden Scroll as my top pick. I like his recent turf works, and I think this pace is going to be like a subpar paced standpoint. So I think that he's going to have a perfect stalking trip. I mean, there's no doubt of his talent, and I think the turf will help him show his true ability. And I think that Pure Sensation is going to set it up perfectly for the stalking horses that are going to press the lead.
I've been waiting for this moment, by the way, for a couple of days. I'm interested in seeing what Hidden Scroll opens up at, because Hidden Scroll, you get the sense it's sort of become a little bit of like a punchline. Yeah, exactly, right. just a punchline, right? In a lot of ways, just because he's always underachieved. I mean, since he started off with a bang and then he's underachieved. So I'm curious to see the first flash here when they put the odds up for the Jaipur. The Jaipur, by the way, presented by America's Best Racing, I might add. Bram, what do you think about this next race?
So, I don't trust Hidden Scroll, but 8-1 is enticing, really enticing.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't trust him. I don't like the favorite, Pure Sensation. It feels like the sweet spot for that horse is 5 furlongs, and they're going 6 here. So I don't like him. I think I feel very confident going against him. The two I like are Stubbins and Alexandra. I think those are the two that I've kind of fallen on. And what do I got? 20 minutes to consider which one I'm going to pick. I'm going to pick one of them, so I'll leave you hanging for now. But that's the direction that I'm going. But Hidden Scroll now with that number feels different to me. Obviously because there feels like there's some value, but I really don't trust them.
Yeah. Well, we mentioned a couple of times here, the show obviously presented by TVG, and TVG offering a special promotion right now at that website right there. If you don't have a TVG account, you can sign up between now and the Belmont Stakes using promo code ABR, and you make a bet. You can bet on the Jaipur if you want. You might think you get a better price in the Jaipur than you're going to get in the Belmont Stakes. Bet on the Jaipur. Your horse wins, you win. Your horse loses, you get your money back. It's pretty simple, pretty sweet deal. Did I just spot a White Claw?
That is, I thought it was mandatory whenever I saw everyone else drinking something else.
No one else is listening to me. I mean, I told everybody the rule is you got to have White Claw. Look, Slim with his, what are you drinking? A Blue Moon? Slim drinking the
just
Blue
a
Moon.
Stella out of the Belmont Cup. I didn't drink hard alcohol. I was thinking about, having some bourbon on the rocks or something. Maybe that'll be my next drink. Who knows?
That sounds like a great decision. Spencer drinking water. So
I'm the podcaster. I got to prep for this podcast for next Monday. Matt told me on to talk about Belmont. I mean,
he's like, I got to work. Spencer's got to work. So, but yes, if you want to bet get in right now. The ABR promo here on TVG is pretty sweet. Again, up to $200 back on that first bet that you make today. It could be the Jaipur. It could be the Belmont Stakes. Choose wisely. I think, for me at least, in this race, I think there's a chance in the Jaipur. There's at least an opportunity to kind of take a little bit of a stab with a horse who is a bit of a mystery horse, and I think could potentially offer some value, and that's Kanthaka. Off a long break, these connections always seem to pop up on big days. West Point's already won a race today in dominant fashion earlier today. Decorated Invader, Graham Motion bringing this horse back, first time gelding as well. And the pace here is pretty murky to me. I mean, I think Pure Sensation, Hidden Scroll are going to go. I think you got a couple of horses who might press. Texas Wedge will be just off of them. I think Alexandra is super, super classy. She loves Belmont. She's 2 for 2. 6 furlongs is exactly what she wants. I think this is her race to lose. But if you want to take a swing with, one of these, if you're making a $200 bet and it's risk-free, I'm going to go for a horse that's higher than 10 to 1. Right now, Kanthaka is 12 to 1. I mentioned the odds, the opening odds, what we get on Hidden Scroll. Hidden Scroll opens up at 5 to 1. Alexandra opens up as your favorite at 2 to 1.
Dan,
yeah.
We talked about layoffs earlier. This one for that horse that you named is like 14 months.
Oh, it's a while.
I mean,
they changed Barnes from
that's a long time. That's a long time.
Graham Motion, so that's a big change.
Yeah.
It's a long time, but like Jonathan, like Stetton mentioned at the beginning of the show, layoffs and bringing horses back on big race days. It's really a barn by barn thing that you have to assess. You don't just say, well, it's a long layoff, so this horse can't come back. There are certain trainers who are good at doing it. And I think Motion is more than capable. Everything he's sending out right now, I mean, I know a lot of us here on the stream follow the New York circuit pretty closely. Everything he's sending out on the turf is pretty live. So I don't really have – yeah, and at Royal Ascot, Sharing finished second today. So so there's that.
Hey, Dan, did you mention that Kanthaka is also a first-time gelding in this race?
I did, yeah, exactly.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, that's an angle I always look for. So, he's been off a while, and maybe he's just really ready to fire. I remember Kanthaka. I mean, he was one of the best sprinters going. He won the the San Vicente, right?
That sounds
right. Is that the one he won? Yep. Yeah, I think way back. Yeah, I mean, he was one of the best sprinters in the country on the dirt. So we'll see what he has to do here on the turf. That's a good pick. I liked him too.
Want to welcome in another handicapper here. We're welcoming in Ellis Starr right now, national handicapper for Equibase, Uber Capper. How's it going?
It's going good. Got to put the hat on now. It's not me.
There you go. That's the look. So we're going around the room now. We're talking about the Jaipur a little bit. I think Spencer, it's your turn. What do you think? How are you betting this race?
So I've heard a lot of people from the Gallop and just people in our head-to-head tournament who are going to pick Kanthaka today. I've always been under the assumption, like in turf racing, that you always want to take the East Coast horses against the West Coast. And then when they become, go on the dirt sprinting, you want to take West Coast speed versus East Coast speed. So I understand that the horse got transferred to Motion's barn, but I just don't. I kind of want to do the wait and see approach and see how the horse runs first time East Coast. I'm on Alexandra. The horse, like you said, loves Belmont, loves the distance. I think a little bit of Texas Wedge in there. And I'm also a little bit, I like Stubbins. I like that last race in the Daytona. I think this horse can definitely find a spot. Size is always one of the better turf jockeys, in my opinion. And Doug O'Neill, I don't know how well he is known for his turf sprinters, but I think this is one that you can get at a price.
It's interesting. I was listening to Matt Bernier the other day. I was talking to him as well, and he's on a couple of shows, and he makes this point. He made it about a horse that ran earlier today, but when you see horses that, come out of barns of trainers who are traditionally good sort of distance dirt trainers, and they've got a turf sprinter that seems to be performing better than expected, he likes those horses even more because you have a horse that's sort of, outside of the mold of what that trainer does. So sometimes that's even more reason to gravitate toward that horse. Ellis, how did you see the Jaipur unfolding?
Well, I think I heard some of the talk earlier about Hidden Scroll, and certainly it's interesting, but he's just giving away turf experience. The last race, he didn't even start the race because he dropped the jock. And I think the race runs through Pure Sensation. I'm kind of surprised that he's 4 to 1 right now, even though he's 9. nobody wants to go with him at all to go with him. I think they're going to leave him alone. And it's interesting, but my top pick, and this is a race I did for one of the blogs, was the other Clement, which is White Flag, who's totally ignored right now. I think 15-1 probably.
Yep.
And they haven't been working together. They've been off different dates. Presentation was down at Payson Park until recently. But White Flag, the only reason he opened up at 8, I think, was because he hasn't won in a couple of years, but he was 0 for 3 last year. One of them doesn't count because it was the end of his 2018-2019 campaign. And then he ran in June, and he ran a decent third in the Highlander, and then he ran in September, and he ran badly, went on the shelf again. He actually has a win on the Belmont Inner Turf. Now, Pure Sensation won this race. I don't know. One of the guests said earlier that Pure Sensation may not get 6 furlongs. He actually won this race in 2016. That's worth noting. At that time, it was on the old regular course, not the inner course.
But he was only 5 then. He's only 5.
That's true. But he fired last April off a 6-month layoff to win the allowance race on the grass at 5 furlongs at Gulfstream. And I think, especially with as hot as Clement's going, being able to get this horse ready to run well off that kind of layoff again is very doable. But the race for me was White Flag, Pure Sensation, and Alexandra. I can't leave her out. Joelle and her get along so well together. And I could not make the case for Hidden Scroll.
Yeah, I mean, look, in terms of Pure Sensation, I mean, he's as gutsy as they come. I remember actually having Disco Partner that year, and I think they both went off at pretty fat prices. That was before they both established themselves as two of the more premier sprinters in the country. And I it was a photo finish, and obviously Pure Sensation got there clearly, and then Disco Partner came back to win it twice. But Pure Sensation always shows up. Is going to get written off because of his age, and also because of potentially some pace pressure from Hidden Scroll. So I think those are a couple of variables there. And I like White Flag. I mean, you're pointing out a horse again at 15-1. Look at his Belmont form. I mean, the horse likes Belmont. There's no question. Has run well at Belmont. And sure, the recent form shows a little bit of a dip. But talking about hot barns that are sending out horses that are just, completely ready to fire, the Clement barn has been red hot. Junior Alvarado on the turf at Belmont has been just, unstoppable. So there's a lot to like with White Flag. I'm with you there. We're going to go into the Belmont Stakes a little bit more here in a moment with some of our guests. Spencer, you have been very gracious with your time. We've got our next guest on tap, so we will wish you luck the rest of the day, and good luck with the podcast later on.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Good luck the rest of the day, guys.
All right, man. We'll see you soon. Going to do a little swap out here and welcome in the sniper with the Devil's hat on. Welcome, Barry Spears. Sniper, how we doing?
Good, man. How you doing today?
Good. You got the official headset on, so you're coming in, you're piping in crystal clear. And I'm having flashbacks to Pegasus. You and Nikki at Pegasus. Oh, here we go. He's bringing out the Capitals puck.
Yeah, there it is. It's always one somewhere.
Let the battle begin.
Yeah,
Bram, by the way, what's up with hockey now? Like, I mean, didn't some players...
What's
positive?
Austin Matthews just got coronavirus.
So what's going to happen?
I don't know if you've been watching the news lately, Dan.
I haven't. I've been watching horse racing.
Playing right now. Ain't looking too hot.
So is it not going to happen? You think they'll push back the start of the postseason?
I think they're going to try, but I mean, have you seen what's going on in football right now with all the LSU players, the Clemson players?
Yeah.
Austin Matthews of the Maple Leafs. It just was determined had it. Ezekiel Elliott has it. I had a hard time buying that this is going to get pulled off unless I actually think hockey should have done what they were initially talking about was go to Fargo, North Dakota, which is a sparsely populated place with a modern arena, and they'd actually have a legitimate shot at having like a hockey bubble instead of going to various different places because the spikes that are happening right now, the longer they wait, the less inclined I'm to believe this is going to happen. Like baseball has no deal to come back and play. And they're shutting down spring training facilities because of the spikes in cases in Florida. Like, I got a hard time buying that this is going to happen anytime relatively soon. Listen, I'm rooting for it and I want it to happen, and selfishly I want it to happen, but I don't know, man. Like I'm having, especially with football too, I am having a really hard time buying that they're going to be playing at some point this summer or fall.
2020 is canceled.
Yeah, I think it is.
Except for horse racing.
Let's Pegasus in January and just call it a year.
Except for horse racing.
Well, this should be the theme for 2020.
Oh, there we go.
Good one, man.
Straight Brian Jordan. Shout out to my man Brett Workman for the shirt.
Love that.
Good one.
Yeah, the timing is right, actually. ABR put together a little bit of a video to kind of capture some of the sentiment around how crazy this year has been and how racing has continued moving on. So want to show that real quick, just a quick video, and we'll be back on the other side of this. That makes me feel nice and warm inside. It is, we are super lucky. I mean, think about it. Horse racing is such a niche sport. We're so lucky that in this moment we've been able to kind of carry on and not only enjoy it ourselves, but because of all these wandering eyes like that don't have their key sports to focus on, we get to grab their attention, especially on one of the biggest days of the year, Belmont Stakes Day. Yeah, it's not a mile and a half. Yeah, it's not the third leg of the Triple Crown. But I don't know, at least for me, I've been just super happy that we've been able to go on. I know Bram has made the case that this should be sort of a test study for horse racing and kind of looking at maybe reconfiguring the Triple Crown series. I can almost hear Slim screaming about this already without even knowing what his thoughts are. He's more of a traditionalist, so I can't see him loving that. But Bram, you can speak for yourself. I mean, I think this has been an interesting time and one that we can maybe look back on and say, horse racing found this out about itself, whatever this might be.
Yeah, I mean, let me just start with this. Like, outside of the NFL draft, what has happened in the sporting landscape in this country that's more important than this day or what's about to happen in the next hour and a half? Nothing. Like, literally nothing. So this is the first actual competition that has any consequence at all that's occurred here. Clearly it's different with no fans and what's happening. And clearly it's different in that it's the first of the Triple Crown races, and it's probably not the field that anyone would have anticipated in the first of the Triple Crown races. But regardless, it is still a very important moment in the sporting landscape that this is occurring right now. As far as looking ahead, like, I'm hoping that the industry will take a look at what's happening here and clearly hoping optimistically that in 2021 we're going to have some solutions that get things back to normal again and we get a normal calendar back going. And I am all for that the first Saturday in May belongs to the Kentucky Derby. Like, I really don't want to see a change in that. I think that's it almost feels like a national holiday and it feels like it should be there. And I want it to be the first race personally, of the Triple Crown. But spreading it out over a period that doesn't involve a 5-week span that encompasses all 3 races, to me, is something that I would hope that horse racing would look at, as they are going to get a lot of attention here, for some of it for the wrong reasons because of what's shut down and what's not happening, and some of it for the right reasons because it's a great sport. And I'm hoping, just from that perspective as a fan and someone who wants to see the sport grow, that a spread out is actually good, and that there are many, many examples of many sports that have broken from their traditions for the better. And I believe that there is a possibility here that they could look at this and potentially see a reworking of the schedule so that the Triple Crown doesn't fall into such a small time period.
Yep. I'm interested in hearing thoughts from everybody else. I mean, Slim, what do you think? I mean, extending out the Triple Crown series potentially to kind of get more interest, more sustained interest in it?
Nah, it has to be 5 weeks. So I'm done with that. I understand this year that this great race had to be at 1 1/8 because the horses didn't go through the rigors of the Kentucky Derby Trail and then the Triple Crown up to this point. So I totally understand that, but forget it. It has to be 5 weeks.
Forget it. Nikki, what do you think?
No, I like it how it is both way with the back-to-back. It just makes it more exciting. But like I could see the point of, like you said, of kind of spacing it out. I mean, that way you can make sure the horses, you know, are in their best shape and, you know, are taken care of. And maybe we would have, you know, they would keep them in longer and not send them right off to breeding after it. So would have the good horses around a little bit longer.
Mm-hmm. Ellis, you got any strong feelings about this?
To take it from the Serenity Prayer, which is accept things you cannot change, and that's just the way this year has played out. I don't know. You know, I'm not a traditionalist, so it doesn't bother me no matter what happens, and it might be a chance to revisit some of it. I think the Derby still needs to be where it is, but there's been so much talk the last few years about the 3 races and going, you know, the shorter, longer, and all that. It certainly is a tradition, but when there's not a Triple Crown winner, as you know, there's not a lot of interest in the Belmont per se, you know, 70,000, 50,000 people instead of 150. And I think that's different this year, which is actually interesting because you're getting this huge broadcast on NBC, this live stream, lots of other coverage.
Mm-hmm.
And that in itself, it's interesting how the public and the media gravitates towards the abnormal.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Sniper, thoughts?
I like it the way it is, but I'm not opposed to the change. Because I think it could be more competitive if the races were spaced out longer. You know, the horses are going to mature over that spring, and they're getting developed. And sometimes I do think that it may not give them the chance they need to mature, and you end up having horses that will probably be better down later this summer, fall, that weren't as good in May. So if they were at their best and everybody was at their best, it might make for a more competitive race. But tradition, you know, there's nothing like it. I mean, you know, I would never want them to change the date of the Derby. First Saturday in May is
Right.
perfect. But, you know, I'm not opposed to making changes. You know, that wouldn't scare me off. That wouldn't upset me at all.
All right, we're going to welcome in a couple more people into the stream here shortly. For now, Slim, we say farewell. Definitely load up on that whiskey you were thinking about.
All right, my man.
Definitely
Take care. Barry, it was great meeting you online like this.
Absolutely,
Good luck,
my
everybody,
brother.
with your bets on the Jaipur and the Belmont Stakes. Take care, all.
See you, Slim.
See you later.
Peace.
Dan, what do you think about this? Can I give one more quick thought on the spacing out?
Sure. Let's welcome in Roberto real quick. Roberto Rodriguez, welcome to the show, my man. How you doing? Uh-oh, audio's down. We're not hearing you. Mess with your audio while Bram gives his thought.
All right. So I think we're all kind of in agreement. First Saturday in May belongs to Kentucky Derby and should be the first in the Triple Crown, right? There's no argument really against that. How about first Saturday in June is at the Preakness and the first Saturday in July is at the Belmont Stakes, and that could at times fall on July 4th. You know, like I think there are possibilities that and you know, I've always wondered why baseball runs their Midsummer Classic, the All-Star Game, in and around that time, why they've never attempted to own July 4th as the day of the Major League Baseball All-Star Game and connect it to America and have it end towards fireworks and that type of thing. The Belmont Stakes would fall into a category where, one, this is not over 5 weeks, it's over a couple of months now. And secondarily, they could happen into, over periods of time, walking into an American holiday that they would end up owning that would walk right into a fireworks display. I just think there's possibilities that the sport should kind of think about as they move forward, and stretching a schedule out, I don't think would end any kind of the tradition. The races could still be the same length. They're still at the same venues, but the fields might be better. I mean, if you ever end up looking at the Travers and the Haskell and wondering why the field is as good or better than the Preakness, then that's an answer to a question of why they maybe should be spacing some of this stuff out. You know what I mean?
Yep, no, I feel you. While Roberto manages some of the audio issues, you want to try it again?
I don't know.
Oh, there you go. You're in now. You're in. You're perfect. You're in.
How you doing?
We're doing good. We haven't heard much from Sniper yet. We want some picks coming up in the Jaipur and in the Belmont Stakes. Same from Roberto. Nikki, before we let you go, any just sort of guaranteed play you want people to know about? Any sort of best bet that people should hone in on in the next couple of races?
Well, I'm really liking Dr. Post and Pneumatic in the Belmont. Those are my top. I mean, Kisdelow, there's no reason he loses, but just with those odds, you can't take him. I mean, you have to look for value. So I think it's Dr. Post and Pneumatic.
All right. It seems like we have audio gremlins all over. You didn't come in too clear, but we did hear Dr. Post, which is key. We can go with that one. Nikki, thanks for making some time for us today.
Oh, no problem. Thank you.
All right.
Good
We'll
seeing
see you
everyone.
soon. All right. Be well. All right. Next guest in is going to be the Bear, Chris Felica. What's
Hello
going
there.
on? How you doing?
I'm doing well. I would have been a little bit better if I had Watford not scored a third minute and added time equalizer against Leicester this morning. But
you're an animal. You're an animal. You're a bear.
We're doing better. We got Crystal Palace at plus 173. Our good friend Nigel Seeley giving that out on the pod with Steve and I earlier this week. So the day is trending upwards. So hopefully I didn't just jinx myself here, as I don't have either of the top two choices on the board here and the Jaipur here. I don't have Alexandra and I don't have Pure Sensation. So hopefully I can sneak by here and be alive on my pick 5.
That's as good, Dan, a gambling entrance I think I've ever heard. That is like Woody Harrelson in Kingpin playing Disco Inferno when he walks into the bar.
And you know what?
Exactly what that was.
I totally forgot one other thing. I woke up late this morning and when I went to bed last night, the golf matchups weren't up. So I looked at like very last minute and told my buddy fire in a Hovland over Pan head to head for me, and that was an easy winner too. So yeah, soccer, golf, and horse race. What a great day.
By the way, I don't know if she can hear us right now, but in the green room right now is Haley Amos. Haley's dad, Tom, won the Woody Stevens earlier today with no parole. We're going to be bringing her in shortly. We're at a 6-screen max, and I want to make sure we give everybody an opportunity who's on right now to talk about the Jaipur real quick. Ellis, I think we've heard some of your thoughts. You like White Flag a little bit as a potential long shot play. Barry, we haven't heard from you on the Jaipur. How do you see this race unfolding?
Yeah, it's a wide open race. I'm not so fond of Pure Sensation, even though he's not the favorite right now. Stubbins is, who I'm also not so fond of. I mean, Pure Sensation is a 9-year-old. He's going to run out of gas eventually. I'm guessing it might be today, hopefully, or at least for this one race anyway. Hidden Scrolls, another horse that they just don't know what to do with. They put him everywhere in every situation. I just don't think he's this caliber of horse, so I can't back him. The one I did kind of key in on was Kenthaka. He does it's just a curious kind of spot for a horse like this coming off a layoff, West Coast to East Coast. Graham Motion, I trust him. I think he knows what he's doing. This horse might be ready to roll late. I don't gather he's going to show a whole lot of speed. I don't think he's going to be a dead closer here. But he's definitely one I took a look at. White Flag was another. I just think this is ripe for a big price here, or at least a non-favorite.
I love that. I'm completely on board there. Roberto, how do you see this all shaping up?
Well, Alexandra is my best bet of the day. You know,
There
I
it
know
is.
she's facing the boys, but she's 80% and 14 star in the money. And she's one of the best closer in the country right now. You know, Mares and Mel. And I think, you know, Rosario, you know, what can you say about Rosario? Is, you know, the best closer in the game. The last time out, she finished the last 8 of the mile. She finished in 5.5 seconds. She was flying there, and unfortunately, she had, you know, a bad break. And I think she's going to be in good position today. I think she will take it.
All right. Look, I'm on the same page based on the horse's prior form at Belmont. Based on how well she ran last out for her first race back, I mean, I think she makes so much sense in this spot. So I'm good with Alexandra too. I can see trying to beat her with some of the horses that Barry mentioned, specifically Kenthaka and maybe even White Flag, like Ellis mentioned. Chris, how do you see it?
Yeah, I went 4 deep on in my pick 5 tickets here. I did use Kenthaka and I did use White Flag, and I like the 2 California horses. I do like Stubbins and I do like Texas Wedge as well. But I'm in total agreement about Pure Sensation here. This horse ran third in this race a couple of years ago, and it's kind of hard for me to envision that this horse is better now than he was a couple of years ago, and it can actually step up and win. So I'm in agreement in being against Pure Sensation here.
All right. We have got, let's see, as I knock over my camera, we've got 3 minutes to post to the Jaipur. Gives us enough time, I think, to go back to Ellis because I know he's got the hot take of all hot takes in terms of who's going to beat Tiz the Law today. So sit back and enjoy Ellis explaining to us why four left is the horse to win the Belmont Stakes. Ellis, hit us.
He's the horse to bet. He's not necessarily the one that's going to beat Tiz the Law. Tiz the Law stands out on everything. He's a double advantage in speed figures, no matter whose speed figures you're looking at. And he's tough, and he's been just educated every time he runs. But I was watching Talking Horses this morning with Serling and Stabile, and they had an argument of whether four left will beat Tapit to win, and Stabile took four left, and Serling took Tapit to win. And I tweeted Anthony, who I worked with many years on radio, and I said, I can't see Jose Ortiz not sending him and taking the race away from Velasquez. Now, whether he can win that battle and win the war, I don't know. But this is a different horse in the UAE Derby. And when people make the comment, if this was the Kentucky Derby, that a horse coming from Dubai, all that stuff, which is usually true, and I got suckered a few times on those horses. But this is 4 months, 4.5, not 2. And it's a big difference. And he shipped to Belmont, and he put in 2 fast works, 59 and 112. I think he's going to get sent. Now, what happens after that, I have no idea in terms of what Tapit to Win does, because he's the wise guy horse. But I think four left is worth a play in all my gimmicks here. And then Tiz the Law, and any kind of hot pace sets it up for Sol Volante. So I already made my bets earlier. I bet four left to win, Sol Volante to win. I boxed four left, Sol Volante, and Tiz the Law all day, and that's where I'm at in the Belmont. I'm taking a big shot against Tapit to Win and Dr. Post.
All right. Yeah, and look, it is all about how you see the pace potentially unfolding. Whatever image it is that you've created in your mind, that's ultimately going to dictate what you play. Because if you think one or the other, Tapit to Win or four left, or loose on the lead, then obviously you may gravitate toward that horse. Honestly, it's if you're looking to beat Tiz the Law, there's no scenario in which 2 or 3 horses vie for the lead and Tiz the Law doesn't win, I don't think, because he is, he's handy. He could sit just off of them. So I think if you're going to create a scenario, you got to do one like Ellis just did. Or in my mind, I kind of lean toward Tapit to Win because I think he's faster. Whenever you're coming back from, taking horses around at Maidan, I think that can often look better than it is in reality. And I just don't think he's as fast as Tapit to Win is right now. So that's my take.
He outgunned 15 horses out of the gate and didn't ever get a challenge. And he didn't win easy. They were always flanked on him. I watched the video. And so he was fairly impressive. And it's O'Neill. And he's going to use a California strategy here, which usually works in New York, as Baffert just showed with his horse, Gamine and the Acorn. So.
All right. Well, we've mentioned a couple of times here that promotion that we're doing currently with TVG at the website right there. You can bet on the Jaipur or on the Belmont Stakes, make a $200 win bet. If you lose, you get your money back. No catch. That's all it is. Use promo code ABR when you're signing up, and you get that deal. I would assume, Ellis, you would use this money to bet on four left, correct?
Absolutely. No doubt about it.
Nothing to lose. Nothing to lose.
Right. Yes.
Look, we have
By the way,
Yeah,
how about the overlays, right? In a shocking development, Hidden Scroll has taken money and it's down to 9-2. So
I'm surprised.
Unbelievable. Who could have ever seen that coming? But Kentucky and White Flag right now, both huge overlays, and Texas Wedge as well.
I am totally surprised. I thought, if anything, Hidden Scroll would get completely overlooked because he is sort of.
I'm being facetious, by the way.
No, I'm not. I thought maybe I'm too on the inside. Everyone I know doesn't take Hidden Scroll seriously. I'm just like, I'm surprised by that. So anyway, we have had Haley Amos patiently waiting in the green room. We're going to bring her in now. That means we bid farewell to Ellis. Ellis, you've come on with some hot takes. Let's hope one of these long shots comes out.
Yep. Thanks, everybody. Great being on with you all.
All right. We'll see you soon. There she is.
Hey guys, can you hear me? Does it sound okay?
You sound great. You sound great. Let's see. They're still circling around the gate for the Jaipur. So, Haley, take us back. Second race of the day today, the Woody Stevens. And you've got quite a horse on your hands, No Parole, winning in a big way. Tell me, like, where you are, who you were watching with, how you reacted, what happened?
Well, we watched it at home with all my family. So my dad was there, my mom was there, and I had a good feeling about today. I'm not going to lie. I didn't tell my parents this, but I went to the liquor store and bought some champagne because I felt good about this. So we celebrated. We opened a bottle, and the winning a G1 doesn't happen every day. So it's a thrill of a lifetime.
That's awesome. That's awesome. I mean, the way the horse did it too, right? I mean, it was, I'm just opening up on the field, and that's got to be the coolest thing. It's like, it's cool to win in a photo finish, but winning the way No Parole won today was pretty amazing.
Yeah, wire to wire. It's no stress when it happens like that. So,
so we've got, as we mentioned, just a couple of moments here. They're loading into the gate for the Jaipur. Does anybody here want to call this race? Anybody?
I nominate Barry the Sniper Spears.
Barry?
What?
Call it. Let's go. They're in the gate. They just. Where are you right now? They just opened.
I'm still looking at them getting in the gate. I'm watching the broadcast on NBC. That's my fault. We're on an 8-second delay.
Anybody else watching this live want to take a stab?
I am watching it live.
Alexandra, terrible start way back of the field now, like 5 clear of the entire field.
Pure Sensation and Hidden Scroll through 21 3/10 of a second. Stubbins stalking in greatly right behind, and in on the rail and fourth is Texas Wedge as they turn down the top of the far stretch. Stubbins is making his move now. Some is Hidden Scroll and Pure Sensation continue to grind away. Kanthaka is making a big middle move around the top of the far turn. As they turn for home, it is Stubbins who has taken the lead. Texas Wedge is coming in. Kanthaka is charging on the outside as well. It's Texas Wedge and Stubbins, and Kanthaka appears he's going to run them down on the outside, and from way back is Alexandra. It's Kanthaka. Can he hold on for another 16th of a mile? Kanthaka and Alexandra, they're going to hit the wire together. It is Alexandra.
What a call.
Wow.
What a call.
You knocked me out of everything.
No. What a call, though.
Yeah, it's a terrible call because it's a terrible result.
You had to see that start. Dan, did you see that start?
Dude,
that horse was done off of that start. That's an amazing stretch run.
Everything froze for me. I was obviously hoping Kanthaka held on because I did $10 doubles. Kanthaka, Alexandra to
unbelievable.
That's a tough
win.
beat.
Oh.
Tough beat, man.
Wow. I'm watching the replay now.
Tough beat.
Wow,
that's
Kanthaka was clear. Oh my god.
I almost did it again, just like at the Pegasus, another 10-1 shot.
Oh my god.
That is a gutting defeat for me. Blown out of everything.
Ay. Wow.
That's tough. Yeah.
Vicious.
I mean, I had it. Sorry, I did, but
I had it too, but it's not. Yeah.
Where's the champagne at? They opened that up.
Now you can pop out the champagne.
Oh man.
My wife informs me she's still alive in the pick 4. So anybody who's still tracking that storyline, she's alive. Chris, I feel you, man. I move on, but obviously moving on with Kanthaka would have been a lot better.
Yes.
Yeah, that was a good call, though. I mean, listen, like that's an interesting position to take on a horse that hadn't run in 13 months. So that's a hell of a position to take, and the fact that he ended up where he did, that was a hell of a call. I mean, it's easier to sit there and go, I like Alexandra. Yeah, no kidding. Everybody likes Alexandra. Good call.
Well, no, but I mean, look, and I want to give a little hat tip to Penelope as well, who's out at Belmont. She's been out there and just kind of reporting back with little bits of information here and there. And, she's spoken to a few people who are pretty high on the way Kanthaka was progressing. Being gelded for the first time, there was a lot to like there, and again, the motion has just been everything has been sending out. It's been live, so that's positive.
And his control was exactly like what we thought. He's not trustworthy, not trustworthy at all. And Pure Sensation, clearly, the sweet spot is not 6 furlongs for him. Like he can't do that anymore. So those were 2 numbers you could stay away from, and confidently, and it happened. And You guys almost hit big. That was a good one. Good call.
Yeah, I mean that horse Kantaka ran as good as any other horse and just got beat. I mean that's just how the game is. You know, there's no shame in that. You know, we had the right pick. It just didn't work out. You know.
For sure. We've got a couple more people in the waiting room. Barry, I want to get you on record on the Belmont Stakes here. Talk to me a little bit about how you plan on betting the race.
I think the race goes through tis the law, just like everybody else at the track. I do like Modernist a lot, so we're going to lean heavy and exactas with Modernist, and then using 4 left and pneumatic underneath for third. And then,
I like that.
Yeah.
I
So
like that.
That's where I'm going.
we haven't heard much love for Modernist. Modernist feels like sort of the overlooked horse today.
I like Modernist a lot.
So look, there you go. I mean, we're about to see.
We're on the same page.
Yeah. I mean, the horse won the Risen Star, and then that race in the Louisiana Derby, post 14, was in the parking lot the entire way around. It was a merry-go-round race with Welch Bayou in New York traffic. I mean, it's not like Belmont hasn't won a Triple Crown race before or won big at a big price.
Bill Mott, by the way, winning his 5,000th career race today at Churchill Downs. Well, his 5,000th career race. It happened at Churchill Downs. So another headline on Belmont Stakes Day. It's, look, we're going to talk about this a number of times between now and race time. So we're about 40 minutes out. They're about to flash the open odds here, and we've been able to track the odds through the day, so we kind of have a sense. But we'll look back at those odds and kind of try to formulate some tickets where if you're going to try to beat Tis the Law, which we've already heard from Bram, he's not going to try to do at this point. But how do you still construct a ticket that's going to win? Hang with us. We'll talk about that. Barry, we're going to welcome in our next guest. So we're going to let you go back and start, putting in those tickets. We appreciate you taking a few times with us.
All right, man. Thanks a lot. I appreciate you having me on.
All right, man. We'll see you soon.
All right. Goodbye, everybody.
Bye.
Take care.
All right. Next up is the Magic Man, Curtis. There you go. With the drink, establishing it right off the bat. What do you got? Some sort of bourbon?
Woodford Reserve.
There you go. Curtis, of course, with the racing dudes. We had half of the crew on earlier. We will have Samich on a little bit. We also had Saratoga Slim, who I believe started drinking at 6 a.m. And so he was on earlier. We're going to get some of your thoughts on the Belmont Stakes momentarily, but want to go back to Roberto real quick. We haven't talked to you in depth about the Belmont Stakes and how you plan on betting that race. So just tell us a little bit more about the way you see that all unfolding.
Well, this is the law, is the horse to beat. I mean, it's no secret on that. And the way that I look at the race is Dr. Post. I haven't followed this horse since he ran here in Florida. And I think it's gonna run great today, Dr. Post, and Modernist as well. So I'm gonna use exacta, Tis the Law to win, and Dr. Post and Modernist, for second place.
Okay, so we do have a decent amount of love for Modernist now. This is interesting.
I mean, it's a good horse, And I think he's training well for this race.
Chris. Yeah, go ahead.
Quick note here. The Jaipur Alexandra, 106.8, 0.04 off course record. That's what you just saw.
With the bad break and everything.
With a terrible break and everything. That's an unbelievable catch. Yeah, can I ask you, Haley, I want to ask you a question because I think you would know more the answer to this. We spent kind of the afternoon talking about layoffs, right? Because this one horse nearly off 13 months, nearly won. And if it wasn't for a near course record, would have, right? Would have. And then in the Belmont, we have a horse that has a legitimate shot that raced 10 days ago. Can you kind of give us a viewpoint from the inside of how you deal with long layoffs and then this idea of an extremely short one to turn around and be in a race like this?
Well, we take it back to, I believe it was the Royal Ascot last year where they ran a horse like 10 days after running in it. I'm drawing a blank on this horse's name, but
Blue Point.
He showed no problems with that short layoff. So a short layoff, it just depends on how the horse is training, how he comes back from the race. Did he retain his weight? Is he looking a little skinny after the race? What kind of appears to happen with his physique? So that's something to pay attention to when you're looking at him in the paddock.
And on the long ones, like how do you guys kind of view getting a horse back ready when it's been a period of time and you're putting them in a spot like this where it's an actual big stakes race?
Well, some horses need a race. It's very clear. But for instance, after last year when Sarah and Getty Empress won the Rachel Alexandra, she'd been off for about 60 days. So she came back in full form and dominated that race. So it really depends on the horse, I think.
Chris, we're going to bounce back to you real quick for your Belmont Stakes picks. Look, if I'm sitting here with, I've had a long day. I've been chasing pick fives. It's come back chalky, and I don't know what to do at this point. I want a big hit here. I want to make some money here. What's the ticket I'm playing?
I would probably wind up keying Modernist and Pneumatic on top of tries and supers with Tis the Law in second, and then probably playing everyone with the exception of 4 left. And in Jungle Runner in the other spots. That's what I think of all the horses in here. I think in terms of overlays and the price, I think Modernist and Pneumatic are definitely going to get you the biggest bang for your buck. I mean, Tap It to Win could be the speed of the field, but he's bet down to 9-2, and I think a lot of people are noticing how the track is playing and just thinking that he's going to benefit from being a speed horse and on the rail, but. Look at these winners that were in these races. They're all, no parole was a freak. It's 3-1 in that race. The Chad Brown horse that won was 6-5, 2-5 or whatever. Gamine was 2-5. These are all odds-on favorites that are running these huge races. So they were supposed to. So I think it's kind of a dangerous corollary to assume that Alcus Tap It to Win is the speed of the race in and on the rail that he's going to do just that. But I most of my wagers have. Tis the Law on top with Max Player, Modernist, and Pneumatic in second. So I'm trying to beat Dr. Post and Solo Volante and Tap It to Win in that second spot to try and kick my exotic sum.
Love it. All right. Look, you guys, Chris and Roberto, you guys have been super generous with your time, making the time to squeeze us in here on Belmont Stakes Saturday. We're going to let you get back so that you can punch those tickets in. Thank you again for the time.
I just want to make one little congratulations to Haley and the Amos family, and as a part owner of Soul Street, who will be running an Indiana Grand in Tom Amos's care on Monday. Hopefully, we can get a nice effort out of him and on Monday afternoon.
We'll be rooting for him.
Perfect.
All right, let's stay out, guys. Roberto, thank you again. Bear, thank you again. We'll catch up with you soon. All right.
Awesome. Roberto.
All right, we are going to add a couple of new guests to the stream here. We got JD Fox with us here at Horse Tickets on Twitter. You might also know him from the podcast, The Champagne and JD Show. JD, welcome. How you doing?
Doing well. I went 4 or 5 in a pick 5 at Woodbine. I went 4 or 5 at a pick 5 at Delaware Park. So I could be doing great, but I'm doing well.
Well, look, that's a step up from the Bear, who was just sharing information about his losing soccer plays today. So we're glad that you're keeping it within horse racing. Also want to welcome in live from Belmont Park, Penelope Miller, back, looks like right outside the walking ring there. Penelope, sounds a little windy, very windy.
It is. I'm sorry. My microphone is not working, so I am doing my best in a lovely but breezy afternoon here at Belmont Park as we're awaiting the start of the first leg of the Triple Crown.
How about that Jiper presented by America's Best Racing?
I'm glad you noticed the sponsorship, Dan. That was a thriller. I mean, Alexandra was too determined to beat, but I was talking to you before the race. I told you that I really liked Canthaka, and I hope you cashed an exacta there.
I cashed a trifecta.
Ooh.
Now, it would have been better with Canthaka on top, so
Yes.
that was kind of painful. But, look, we haven't seen a price yet today, really. It seems like it might happen at any moment. What's the feeling out there? I mean, I know there aren't that many people out there. Obviously, it's very select media. You're there. What could you tell us just about the vibe and any buzz around any particular horses or anything you're seeing that leads you one way or another when it comes to the Belmont?
Well, I mean, I'm kind of annoyed because my hipster pick is now everyone's hipster pick. Tap It to Win has been bet down pretty substantially.
Oh yeah.
But the vibe is that Tiz the Law is the horse to beat. I think most people are just really, really excited and happy to have this first leg of the Triple Crown kicking off here in New York. It is a perfect day for racing. Track is very fast, and as I'm sure you've noticed at home, speed has been holding, which does make it pretty tasty scenario for Tap It to Win. But Tiz the Law is not afraid to be up front. His race to beat, or his race to lose, I think.
I think we're going to know pretty early, probably within the first quarter mile, how this race is going to shape up from a pace perspective and which horses are going to be at an advantage or a disadvantage. We had Reylu Guttierez on earlier on Jungle Runner. A couple of other good storylines with Sakatoga Stables, obviously, had Funny Side back in 2003. They're back with a real horse here in Tiz the Law. Linda Rice could become the first female trainer to ever win a Triple Crown race if Max Player wins. Any other storylines we're missing? Anything else you're seeing out there that you could share with people watching right now?
I think that there's a lot of sort of fan support for Farmington Road, and I know that was a horse you liked for coming into the race. Are you still?
Little bit. I've kind of moved off the horse, so he'll probably
or?
win. Yeah, I mean, we've had a couple of people on who actually said they really like Farmington Road, including Emily from Optics. So maybe that's one to take a look at for sure.
Absolutely. Well, I hope everybody cashes their tickets, even though I know that's a very tough thing to play. But it's going to be a good race, and I'm just excited to see what happens.
All right, we appreciate you coming back in live with us. I know you're busy running around and covering the races there. Really unique situation. Appreciate you doing it, and we'll catch you soon and enjoy the race.
All right, you too. Bye, guys.
All right, see you, Penelope. Bye. All right, we're adding one more racing dude. We promised, the last racing dude of the day. Mike Somich is here joining the stream. We've got a lot of firepower here to head into the Belmont Stakes with. Before we do, though, I want to go back to Haley Amos real quick. I know she's got some partying to tend to. It's been a big day. Haley, just one quick thing. I know you're working on a pretty cool project, something to look forward to later on in the summer. As we head on into the fall, really right around Kentucky Derby week. Tell us about that. Tell us what's going on.
So yeah, I recently joined the Louisville Thoroughbred Society as the director of membership, and it's a private members-only club located in downtown Louisville, and it's for the thoroughbred enthusiasts. So there's the capabilities to go to this club and handicap on site. We also offer a built-in cigar humidor so that you can go buy yourself a cigar to celebrate after a big win, pick up a bourbon and smoke it on the cigar pavilion outside. So it's a very exciting opportunity. And when I heard about the position, I knew I had to take it because it's going to be fun.
So the Louisville Thoroughbred Society, it's a club. It's opening up on Kentucky Derby week. Is that right?
So we're actually going to open in August, but I can tell you we are planning Kentucky Derby week, and we are going to do some fun things. So to be part of the club, it'll be worth it to join before the Kentucky Derby.
All right. And the first thing I asked you, by the way, was can you bet when you're there? And you said lots of betting, right?
Not only can you bet, but you can cash in on your bets, and you can go buy that $1,500 shot of bourbon, that Pappy Van Winkle, celebratory. So yes, or buy rounds for the whole staff, myself included, obviously.
Yeah, naturally. You saw Samish just perk up there when you mentioned $1,500 Pappy shots. He's like,
I can't wait for the poker tournament on Derby weekend, right?
All right, Haley, you've been awesome with your time. Sorry we had you in the green room for so long. Congrats again on no parole. How exciting.
Thank you, guys. I'm off to go celebrate, so appreciate y'all having me.
All right, give your dad a hug for us, all right?
I will.
All right, we'll see you soon. All right, so the crew here as we count down toward the Belmont Stakes to reset. It's Bram Weinstein with me right up top. We got Magic with us. We got JD, we got Mike. So we got the entire, this is a very podcast heavy thing. I didn't even mean to do this. We've got the entire Magic Mike show. We've got.
Get with it, Dan. Radio doesn't exist anymore. Right? It's all podcast these days.
Bram, I'll let you set this race up. As I'm looking at it, as expected, Tiz the Law opens up 4-5. Tap It to Win, your second choice 9-2. everything else pretty inflated. Your thoughts here with 28 minutes to post?
Can I go through the field real quick? Can I do a quick little synopsis? So Tapit to win, awful end to 2019, dominant 2020, impossible to ignore the bloodlines. I get why you and a lot of people like him. I get it. The price is not big enough to entice me here. And that's really why I'm staying away from him. Sole Volante, like, honestly, that race 10 days ago, that was like watching Usain Bolt run. I mean, that was amazing. And if he does that again, he might win. But I just can't picture that happening again on such a short turnaround and then going up to New York, how many ever days ago it was. So I got a hard time with that, seeing that for so long. So I just have a hard time seeing it. Max Player and Dr. Post I'll get back to later because I like them for essentially the same reason. Modernist won the Risen Star, not a lot of pace there. I don't think he can run with Tiz the Law, and that's why I'm not interested. Farmington Road, I know there's a lot of interest I'm hearing about, but that Arkansas Derby is a turnoff to me. So I don't know that he's of this caliber right now, so I'm away from that. I've been sold by Ellis and others on 4 Left. It feels like that is a total dart throw. Like, if he is on, he's going to be scary and probably front running, and they got to catch him. And if he's off, he'll finish tomorrow. So I don't know what to make of him or think of him, but he's probably in my exotic bets because he's going to be 30 to 1 or better, and I would hope that he would hit the board. Jungle Runner, I'm tossing entirely. Tiz the Law, I think, is going to win. Pneumatic, I kind of like a little bit, but not so much, I guess would be the way I would put it. So I'm not going against Tiz the Law. I think he's going to win, but I'm trying to find some value here. 4 Left is going to be my exotic. And the other 2 that really stand out to me that I think have some kind of potential because you just don't know are Max Player and Dr. Post. I don't like how low the odds are on Dr. Post. I would hope I would do better than that, being that he's hasn't run in a stakes race. But the Pletcher-Ortiz combination is probably getting a lot of confidence from people, and it should. And he's run very well at a slow pace and a fast pace. So I think however this thing plays out, I think he's going to be there. And with Max Player, there's a little romanticism. I'd love to see Linda Rice pull something off. I think that'd be pretty cool. I love Rosario. He was just in the last race, pulled off that great stretch run. Also not tested at this level, but a big stretch runner like Sole Volante. So if I'm going to – and at 15 to 1 is very attractive too. So to me, like, if I'm going to take a shot outside of Tiz the Law, it's on either Max Player or Dr. Post. And in all likelihood, Dr. Post, because I trust Pletcher and Ortiz to be there in the end and probably not get the price I'm really looking for. But officially, I'm not betting against Tiz the Law. I think he's going to win.
Look, Dr. Post is 8 to 1 right now, up from 5 to 1. If anything, I expected that price to come down. Maybe we'll still see that. Still some time. We're going to go over to Magic. But before we do, wanted to add to the stream, we have sourced a jockey, a real life jockey, who's going to give us some perspective from a jockey's perspective and from her perspective. Callie, can you hear us?
Hey guys, how's it going?
That looks like a massive drink in front of you.
Oh, it's not that big. I was just throwing up. I didn't mean for that to be in the. I didn't mean for that to be in the frame.
No, please. Like, we're all drinking.
It's welcome.
White.
Yeah.
Like
Cheers.
I just quickly looked up. Okay, what's the official Belmont drink? And I'm like, oh, Belmont Jewel, and then I kind of threw together whatever I had. So happy Belmont, guys.
Happy Belmont. Yeah, that'd be great. And Callie, we're going to want to bring you into this conversation here in a moment to kind of talk about how you see this race unfolding from a jockey's perspective. For those of you unfamiliar with Callie rides on the Mid-Atlantic circuit at Laurel Park. She has been riding for a couple of years. I believe you started out west. Am I correct?
No, actually I didn't.
No?
I didn't. So when you say out west, I did do a small apprenticeship with Gay Waterhouse over in Sydney.
That's yeah.
That's like
That's
way
exactly
west.
what I
Very west.
Very west, yeah. So no.
All right, but we'll come back to you on that because I want to know how you. I want you to basically put yourself on every horse in this race in the Belmont Stakes and tell me how you would ride it. But we'll give you a moment to prepare for all that. Let's go over to Magic. Look, we've looked at this race from a number of different perspectives. I think the question is basically A, can you beat Tiz the Law? B, if you can, with who? Or if you can't, if you can't, how are you going to bet the race and make some money?
So that's a great question. And I hate whenever I've been hearing people say, oh, it's Tiz the Law, there's no value, that because of the field, people think this is a weaker Belmont. I'm not getting into that argument. You can still make money. People forget that when Justify won the Kentucky Derby, you had Good Magic and Audible second and third. That's super paid, like $19,000 because you had Instilled Regard at 85-1. So you can still find value in these races when there's a perceived heavy favorite like Justify was. So for me, it's my biggest bet is going to be Tiz the Law straight over Tap It to Win. I think the pace sets up that well. If you're looking to spread underneath, I just don't see what you see in Farmington Road, man. Like I hate to say that, but if you look at the one time he faced, really strong field, hell, the two times he's faced really strong field, he couldn't even hit the board. The one time he had a bad field, he couldn't even get past Mr. Big News. So to me, if you compare the field qualities,
ouch.
Sorry. Sorry.
Mr. Big News couldn't even beat Mr. Big News.
So I do think Sole Volante's style, if he doesn't sit closer, I think he's going to be too far out of it. We've seen how speed is holding up here. Yeah. Unless he's really close, he could definitely come running for second, third, fourth, and if his price creeps up at all, that's going to be really great. But I just can't see anybody who's not a front runner having a really strong shot to even finish second underneath Tiz the Law. But you can make money. You just have to take a very strong stand with Tiz the Law first. So that's what I'm going to do.
Okay, fair enough. And look, I said it repeatedly here. I think we'll know pretty early on, literally within the first quarter mile, about you'll have a sense if you bet 4 left and the horse is 5 lengths off of Tap It to Win, you're not going to be feeling great. On the other hand, if you bet Tap It to Win, you're going to be feeling really good at that point because you're going to probably have Johnny, settled in. Even if they do a quarter in 23 and change, Johnny could slow it down and do high 47, low 48, and be in good shape. JD, tell us how you see it all unfolding.
Well, I think the really interesting question right out of the gate is pneumatic and what pneumatic does. Obviously, I think Ricardo Santana is really going to try to go for the lead and push over. So how does that impact Tiz the Law? How does that impact Dr. Post? I think that's the big question here because we know Tap It to Win is going to be out there. We know 4 Left is going to try to be out there. We don't know for sure if 4 Left's going to be able to make it. Just big question marks there in terms of what 4 Left we're going to see. But I do think pneumatic might hold the keys to this race and kind of shape the direction that Tiz the Law is going to be. Is Tiz the Law going to be 4 lengths behind the pace? Is Tiz the Law going to be 2 lengths behind the pace? It's really going to be around that trip and if pneumatic can clear those runners easily and what type of pace that leads into.
Yeah. I mean, really, look, and you mentioned pneumatic there. I feel like this is a horse that we've kind of mentioned in passing. But really, like, what's not to like about pneumatic? If Tiz the Law wasn't in this race, what would pneumatic's odds be? Would pneumatic... Yeah.
Not 17-1 for sure.
Is in this race, Dan, and that's the problem. Okay.
Fair enough. Mike, what do you think? I mean, we've go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, I think everyone's done a great job kind of breaking this down. I think Tiz the Law is going to be very, very tough in this spot. He's going to sit the perfect trip. You've got 3 likely speed horses, inside, outside, in that 6 post and 4 left. You're going to see a pretty hot pace, especially since we're going a 1-turn mile and an eighth. It's not a 2-turn mile and an eighth. So I don't see anyone getting any type of easy lead. And I think Dr. Post and Tiz the Law are just going to kind of sit the perfect trip. I hate to eat chalk here, but I'm not sure how you're going to be able to beat those 2 horses. I'm alive to the 2 of them in the pick 5, and so that's kind of where I'm leaning on. I do like Tiz the Law quite a bit more than Dr. Post, and I think it's wide open underneath. I really like. I actually like Modernist quite a bit for that 3rd spot. I think he's got a good shot at being able to sit with Dr. Post and Tiz the Law and be able to kind of move up and pick up the pieces. I don't think he can run with the top 2. But, I mean, if you look at that Louisiana Derby, speed held really well. He was 4 to 5 wide almost the entire time around. New York Traffic came back and ran well. Wells Bayou came back and ran well on the lead off that. I think this distance sets up well. And if you look at the workouts, I mean, we're coming off of 59-1 bullet work. I think you're going to see one of Modernist's best efforts right here.
Yeah, I want to ask you about Farmington Road since Magic took a really big swipe there. I looked at that Oaklawn Stakes. Granted, I mean they were flying up front. You had, I think, basically the top 3 all were running. Basically were in the back of the pack as they turned for home. What do you make of the soft return in the Arkansas Derby? Can you say maybe the horse? I don't know. Maybe that rally in the Oaklawn Stakes took something out of him. I don't know. I mean, or was the Oaklawn Stakes really what it appears to be? He benefited from an extremely hot pace, and he's just not really on the level here.
Yeah, I would say he benefited from the pace more than anything else. I mean, if he doesn't win, then when is kind of how I feel like it. You know, like Magic said, he got beat by a horse that would be a huge price in this spot. And then he worked with Dr. Post earlier this week and got beat pretty handily by Dr. Post working as well. And the fact that Irad literally came back from COVID-19 from his time off just to ride Dr. Post on a Friday to make sure that he could line this horse up as his eventual Derby ride, I think tells you everything you need to know about Dr. Post in that sense. So I feel like if you are going to use Farmington Road, you got to use him in that third or fourth spot because he could be picking up the pieces if you have a wicked pace up front. I think Chris brought up a great point too, right when he was leaving. Yes, inside speed's been very good, but it's also been the best horse in every one of those races. And sometimes people gravitate toward a speed bias in a racetrack when really it's just the best horse has been in front every time. And so they're just running away. I mean, I don't think that it really mattered where some of those horses were. They were going to win and win impressively, regardless of whether or not they were on the rail or in the forepath. I mean, I think that, the best horses have been up front. And so we've seen a lot of speed winning because of that, not because of a golden rail.
Yeah, and I think of, No Parole and Gamine specifically. I mean, they didn't really face too much adversity either. I mean, they got to the lead and just did what they did because they were the best horses in those races. Callie, if I told you, look, you could ride any horse in this race except Tis the Law.
I knew you were going to ask that question.
No, Tis the Law. You cannot have Tis the Law. I'm riding Tis the Law. How are you going to beat me?
Well, it depends what horse I'm on.
Don't fall off.
She has the weight advantage.
It all depends on you staying on the horse stand.
Well, I'm not. So you'd win by default because the horse crosses the line without a jockey. But if you could pick any horse in this race other than Tis the Law to ride, who would it be? Basically, who do you think's got the most upside?
I mean, I hate to be a bandwagon, but Tap It to Win. I was really impressed with how that horse went. The only thing I will say is that if you want to beat Tap It to Win, that horse has a more fragile ego than one would think. Mm-hmm. So you have a couple of horses here that can get up there with him and kind of put the pressure on him because every time he's gone, and now besides, what was it? I think he was down at Gulfstream where he was just pocketed in there. So it really depends on how that horse breaks. But I do like Tap It to Win for a couple of
I noticed, by the way, as soon as you said fragile ego, Bram kind of just leaned in a little bit. He was like, oh, what is she about to say here? This could be interesting.
When horses get, with the last win that horse had, they can get kind of, what was the word? He's large. He's a very large and in charge kind of horse. Uh-huh. And when he doesn't get that spot, like for example, and mind you, he was very green when he did this. Mm-hmm. I think it was like his third start over at Keeneland. Super green, super rank. When Tyler tried to hone him in, he was not having it, and he basically had a hissy fit and pouted when that happened, and he threw in the towel. Yeah. So, saying that, I do think that since then the horse has matured a lot, but you also never know what's going to happen if you do put the pressure on him again. So, like I said, he was used to having that very easy, wide open win, and you have a couple of horses in here that can just lay right on top of him. So that's the big question in itself. Can he handle the pressure? Does he have enough heart to keep it going as quick as he can keep it going? So, but saying all of that, I do like the horse. So
who's the one that you look at outside of Tis the Law that you don't think has the fragile ego and maybe isn't as good as Tis the Law, but might have a shot at him?
Yeah. Are we asking for another pick?
Yeah.
So wait, ask the question again.
So who's the one you look at and said, that one doesn't have the fragile ego, is clearly probably not as good as Tis the Law, but I like him as a competitor and think he can take a run at him?
I actually do like Modernist. The thing is, he's a one-paced horse, so he is going to have to get up there a bit. What other horses I like that I really liked kind of stuck in there? Max Player. I do like that horse. Okay. He looks, and the way you watch him move, he looks like a proper Belmont horse. It's kind of hard the only thing that I worry about him is that you can't break that horse's momentum. So once he starts going, he's not very crafty like Sol Valente. That horse is a very crafty horse. He can kind of stop and go and weave in between horses, and he's still been able to kick on and go forward with it. So, and it does help that Luca's still on him, which I do. I love that. Who else did I have? That was really, let's see, 4 left. I think that with Jose, I think that horse is just a moody horse. I think that horse is one that does not have heart. So he likes to have it his own way. He's a toss. Let's see, what else is a toss here? Jungle Runner. The only thing I really like is that raise on him. It's his first Belmont. That jock is going to be hungry as all get out, and he's going to do whatever it takes to get the best out of that horse. But I think that horse has lost some confidence since his 4th, I think, in Arkansas. So for him to get some confidence, just to maybe get a piece of it, he'll have to take up some horses early. Yeah, let's do this. Okay, so Tiz the Law goes without saying. I think the horse is just, you can put that horse in almost anywhere, unless he's way off the pace, unless some things happen. So I think you guys have had plenty of conversations about Tiz Law that I don't need to repeat.
Yeah. I mean, his record speaks for itself.
Yeah.
And so at this point, we're just trying to get creative. And if we can't get a nice ticket in this race, at least in terms of playing this race straight up, maybe there's a late pick 3 play we can look at. And I'm going to give that one to Magic. We've got one person in the green room. So Magic, before we let you go, though, I want to know if you're playing this late pick 3, or if there's any horse at least that you could give us in the next couple of races who might, spice up. Look, we're all going to try to get out here by the end of the day. It's been a real chalky day. None of us got chalk. Give us maybe a price here we can look at the next couple of races that us out.
Boy, all right. Give me 1 second. I'm going to pull up the morning lines here because I've got my tickets played out. In the next race, you know what? I like the fact that you've got the one horse looks pretty strong on paper. It's a North American debut, but had a really nice career overseas. So if you can get that strong repeat effort, the big question you always have with these horses when they come from overseas, you have to wonder what's going to happen once they. And I'm talking about talker listeners. They're paired up. What's going to happen when they get into this American style of running? Because it's a lot more aggressive here. So the horse is 10-1. If you do get it with surprise twist, that's a nice little value. If you like the one horse, now you're getting it twice when you play him. So. You could see Talker Listen really take a big step forward. And if you're looking for a price after, like what I'm doing, is singling Tiz the Law here in this late pick 3, this would be a great one to get me into that final leg.
Right. Perfect. Love that. Magic, real quick before we let you go, let people know where they can hear you and Mike, where they can see your writing. It seems like you've got, you're putting in a lot of work, because every time I click on a Racing Dudes article, it looks like it's your name on it. So, that's just from my perspective. No offense, Samich.
I don't write much.
No, Samich doesn't need to write when he cashes the big, massive tickets that he does. So he can afford to just not write. No, so I'm the content manager for RaceNews.com. It's been a heck of a week because the racing gods put Royal Ascot Week in Belmont Week. So I've been working from about 5:30 a.m. my time in California till about 9:30 at night each night, just covering everything from coast to coast. But it's been a lot of fun, so you can check that out at RaceNews.com. Mike and I are the host of the Magic Mike Show. You can probably get 3 guesses as to how we came up with that name. We do it twice a week. We cover the late pick 4 sequences going into a weekend, and then on Monday we do a recap show where we talk about what we learned, kind of like what Spencer does with his Redboard Rewind podcast, but we look specifically at things that we talked about the past weekend. And I'll promise you, Dan, if Farmington Road wins, you have my word, you will come on that show and you can spend 30 minutes telling me how wrong and how dumb I was for making those comments, because I think I just talked him into the winner's circle for you.
Hey, from your mouth to God's ears. Let's see if we can make it happen. Magic, love having you on. Absolutely awesome. Oh, and by the way, I also, little birdie put in my ear that it's somebody's birthday here. Magic, do you want to sing a little happy birthday?
I got that. I've got that
much to you. Happy birthday. All right, it's Samich's birthday, right? Yeah. Am I right?
Yeah, it is. I was due on Belmont Day, and I was nice enough to be 14 days late, and this is the first time the Belmont's been running my birthday, so it's all come first circle here.
All right. Well, happy birthday to Mike. I'm glad, Magic, you're on for the cheers. All right, Magic. We'll see you soon. All right.
Thanks. Good luck, everybody.
All right. Be good, brother.
Have a good one, Magic.
All right, next guest coming in is the Megan Devine from TVG. Megan, how we doing?
Hey, guys. Good. I'm joining the party a little late here, but it looks like you're off to a good start so far, albeit maybe a chalky one.
A little chalky, yeah. Well, look, we saved you for prime time. Last time I remember we had you on this show was we're in person, so we could actually hang out at a track. Like, like normal times. I was at Pegasus.
My first experience having a White Claw, which you forced me to do.
And
it
was amazing, right?
I remember it was so good.
That was Dan's first experience having 12 White Claws.
yeah, also good.
Yeah.
Can we do a quick poll, JD, White Claw, yay or nay?
No.
No.
Thank you.
Damage?
Guilty.
Oh, is that mango? Did I say mango? I got the mango now too.
What can I say?
Nice. Callie, White Claw?
I mean, take a look at me. I'm gonna say yay.
There we go. Thank you. I've got some support. I got my people here.
Yeah, you do.
Megan, as you said, it's been a chalky day. I don't know how your bets are doing generally, but what's your approach here to get out? Because for us, we're all trying to get out here. And if not in this race, like I mentioned to Magic a moment ago, maybe there's a pick 3 play you're looking at, or some other horses you're looking at in the next couple of races.
Yeah, for sure. Well, this will probably be the final one I'll play at Belmont, so I hope I can get a little bit of a price here. Otherwise, I'm heading over to Santa Anita, and I've got some good bets there on TVG, which you can find under Talent Picks. But this is so hard because I'm such a big I'm such a big advocate for class, right? And Tiz the Law is the class of this race. It's just, there's no comparison. However, since we are looking for a price, I actually went with Pneumatic on top. I went with Pneumatic, Tiz the Law, and Dr. Post. I really like the fact that he draws outside here a little bit more, because if you watch the Matt Win, which I thought was probably better than a grade 3 just because of the company, he drew the 1 hole and he kind of had to inherit the lead at least for a little bit of time. And if you watch Ricardo, he wanted to take the horse back. He didn't want him to go out there so quickly. So the outside post, I think, will allow him to really get a trip that he prefers. I just think he's a horse that has some class. He's been training really well. I think he'll stalk and sit a nice trip. So I love the big price on him, and I'm going to take a shot.
Speaking of prices, as we look at the board now, Tap It to Win is still your second choice, holding solid at 9-2, which tells me again, in terms of race shape and kind of how people envision this race unfolding from a pace perspective, they're envisioning Tap It to Win is going to get out to a loose lead potentially, because if you think he's going to get pressure from 4 left, or from Modernist or from anyone else, or even Pneumatic, I mean, you probably don't like him that much, but if you think he's going to get loose, you probably like him. So it looks like that's what at least a lot of the public money is on. Behind that, Sol Volante seems like, and this is a horse I've never been high on, but 11-1 seems like just an incredible price. I mean, am I right, JD? I mean, Sol Volante at 11-1?
I was not expecting that going into today. And obviously 9-2 morning line, I thought was a little heavy, but I wasn't expecting this because it does seem to be the logical closer. If you do think that the speed's going to be too much and the first runners are going to be too close to the speed, if you need a dead closer, I think Sol Volante is the horse. So I am surprised to see that. It's not a horse that I'm choosing to play, and I don't have on any tickets just because I'm still wrapping my head around the mile work, which was not exactly a fast work, but a mile work followed quickly by a 4 furlong work, followed by a race, followed by a ship. I'm still, if this was Australia, that would be a different thing, but here in the States, that doesn't happen too often.
Samich, I know obviously you're Tiz the Law and Dr. Post, and maybe you can make a case for Sol Volante after that, but when you look up at the board and you see Sol Volante at that price, do you consider throwing in a different ticket, or are you still pretty confident with what you got? And
I'm pretty happy with Tiz the Law and Dr. Post. I think Tiz the Law is head and shoulders above this field, and I'm not going to try and beat him in the exotics. I do like the last 2 races. I'm playing 6-10 with 4-7 in the last 2 to close out a pick 3, and I'm singling Tiz the Law here and just hitting it for $5 and hoping we get something decent home in the last 2 legs, because those are both all 4 of those horses I believe are over 6-1 morning line. So I do think they're playable prices in the last 2 races, and I actually think they're the most likely 2 races in the entire card to produce a price. When you look at them, they're lower level. You got Turf Sprint. I mean, they're a couple wide open races. So I do think if you like Tiz the Law, the way to create value is either go with a cold super, and I'm gonna play a cold super with Tiz over Dr. Post, Modernist, and then I'm gonna put Sol Volante in the 4th spot. I do think he has a good shot at picking up the pieces. But I agree. I think this is just a very odd way to lead up to this race, especially, that the mile race, you had Ete Indian, who just fired from the gate, who's a stablemate, and Biancone owns this horse. So he was trying to set it up for this horse in that race and not have him work at all. And that was a very easy win going a mile. It never really was asked. I think it actually looked more impressive than necessarily was. So I think that I'm surprised he's 11-1. I thought he was going to get more play, but even at 11-1, I don't see how he beats this field. I'm sure I'm talking him into the winner's circle now, but to me, I'm going to eat chalk here, and I hate doing it. I like playing long shots, but I ended up doing it in the Florida Derby, and I was happy about it. I think that Tiz the Law right now is your best 3-year-old, and trying to beat him, especially at this setup of this race, it's a losing proposition.
Well, Callie made an argument a little while ago for Max Player. Max Player, again, somewhat surprisingly to me, given the fact there hasn't been much buzz around the horse, is actually taking a little bit of action off the morning line. Is 13-1 off of the 15-1. And you compare Max Player to Pneumatic 17-1. I did not think Max Player would be 13-1 with Pneumatic 17-1 with just 2 minutes to post. That is shocking to me. While I think Max Player is a viable horse underneath, that's a little surprising. Did want to mention real quick, especially with Megan here, may as well give a shout out to TVG and the promo that we've got going on with this show. You could use promo code ABR. If you like a Max Player, if you like a Sol Volante at 10-1 or 13-1, you sign up for a TVG account. Time's running out, but you do it now. You make a $200 bet. You bet $200 on a Sol Volante. You're going to cash a nice ticket. But if the horse loses, you're going to get your money back. So just figured we mentioned that. You got a couple of minutes to get in on that promo code ABR with the website there a moment ago. Callie, you mentioned a couple of horses, including Max Player. Just sort of final thoughts here as they're heading to the gate. If you had to put together, and I know you're a jockey, you're not a gambler, but if you had to put together a trifecta here, what would it look like?
Oh my gosh. Here's the problem, Dan. I've got to look when you're, as a jockey, when you're handicapping a race and you're saying, oh, hey, we're going to talk about the Belmont. I'm acting like, how can I win on every horse that, so it's impossible for me to pick 3. But if I'm going to go with 3, obviously, it says the law, tap it to win, and
gotta go Max Player.
See,
I've assigned Max Player to
you. I'm not sticking with him. He's my surprise, but let's go with Dr. Post. Actually, I do like that horse. Yeah, I think it's a solid 3rd pick.
All right, music to Samich's ears. Megan, construct a couple of tickets for us. If I'm sitting there with $20 in my account, I want to make a $20 bet, and then give me sort of a big hitter bet, a $50 to $100 bet.
Well, I mean, if you like Tiz the Law, you got to put as much of a straight win bet on him as you can for many people out there. So that could be your tactic. Like I said, I wanted to find a few price horses in here, so I did go by way of Pneumatic. I mean, you could box them in an Exacta if you want to key Tiz the Law, if you're a big believer in that, and use Pneumatic. And I think Dr. Post underneath, who, by the way, the most expensive purchase in the field and has just done nothing wrong so far. I feel like he's on the right path to being really successful here. So I agree with Callie there and the rest of you guys who were on Dr. Post, because I do think that he's worth a shot. So I'm going to look for value underneath, but I'll probably box that first spot, like I said, because I am just so desperate for a price at this point that I really want Pneumatic to come through.
Bram, you gave us a horse by horse kind of overview when we started. Bring us home here. What are your final thoughts?
I get the idea of like wanting to bet against a heavy favorite, but I also like winning. So I'm going to bet Tiz the Law because I think it's probably the right thing to do. And last time I checked, when you bet that, they pay you more than you bet. So I'm going to go with Tiz the Law to win. And then I've been talked into Pneumatic here. I've heard a lot of compelling thoughts about him. I agree. Like, he shouldn't be on the lead, and he won't be. So this probably sets up a little bit better for him this time. So I kind of like him, but I just don't see anybody beating Tiz the Law. So my exotic will have Pneumatic in it, Dr. Post, Max Player, and obviously Tiz the Law.
All right, sounds good. We do have a couple of comments here from viewers on the stream. Thank you, by the way, everybody who's joined in today. Great viewership. I mean, we've had people on straight through. It's been a marathon, 3 hours of coverage here. Thank you to all of our guests who have taken time out of their day to do this today. This has been absolutely awesome. As we head to the post here for the Belmont Stakes, we do have a couple of questions about how you can actually watch the race. Will we be streaming it here? We do not have rights to stream the race here, but of course, all you got to do is turn on your TV and put on NBC. National broadcast is on right now. They're headed to the gate, so you can keep us up on your cell phone, your laptop, your computer, wherever. and watch the race on TV. We are your second screen experience here for the Belmont Stakes. Belmont Stakes Live presented by TVG. You can also, if you're watching us on your computer, you can also just pull out your cell phone and pull up the NBC app, the NBC Sports app. NBC Sports app will be streaming the race momentarily. So we're only a couple of minutes out as the horses. I mean, it's almost surreal to watch this. The horses, heading onto the track and into the gate with no fans there in the Belmont Stakes. I mean, that's, Callie, from a rider's perspective, I mean, could you imagine? You mentioned Reylu. I mean, imagine Reylu. He's who knows? Like, he's young. He's been in the game for a couple of years. He's getting to ride in the Belmont Stakes, and there are no fans there.
I'm feeling for him, dude. I feel bad for him, like, big time.
Right?
Yeah, no. I mean, everybody's different. So some, these guys at this level, I mean, I'm sure that I love a crowd. So crowds are fun. So I'm feeling for Reylu because there's nobody there.
Bram, you spoke to a lot of people this week. You spoke to the NBC team that's covering the race. You also spoke to Dean Reeves about Sol Volante. Anything stand out from those conversations as they're entering the gate now from, whether the perspective of the owners?
I asked Dean a lot about 10 days later, putting your horse in the Belmont Stakes, and he basically said the horse told us he's ready, was the way he said it, and they felt very confident about it, and they just went off. So maybe I'll be quiet now.
Oh, I'm behind.
All right. Well, Bram, you got to give us the call. We're all behind. Go ahead. Give us who's on. Is it Tap It to Win on the lead?
Tap It to Win on the lead. Dr. Post, good start as well, just a couple back. 4 left, not surprising, up on top of the lead as well. And on the outside of him is Tiz the Law, so he's stalking right behind. So it's perfect setup for Tiz the Law. And it's almost exactly as we all said it would play out, that the speed early here, Tap It to Win and 4 left are out here early. 10-horse Pneumatic is there on the outside and right behind the first group. And Jungle Runner with Reylu is right in the mix on the rail and in good position. See if he has enough horse to get there. Dr. Post in the middle, but it is still Tap It to Win and 4 left on the front, with Tiz the Law right underneath 4 left and not been called on to make his move yet. The Tap It to Win looking strong, and now Tiz the Law starting to pick up a little bit of pace. Here comes Pneumatic on the outside, so he's broken clear from that second level. Jungle Runner is now dropping out of the race. Sol Volante is way back, but starting to finally make his move from the back of the field. On the inside, Modernist has a good track on the rail, has a shot here to make a run.
It's not where that horse needs to be.
How about that half mile?
Torrington Road, your horse stand from the back of the pack, starting to make his move as well. So we're still kind of waiting for Tiz the Law to see if he can turn the corner and take the lead. And he does. So he has passed on and he has taken the lead. He's being challenged here on the outside by, I believe that is Farmington Road coming up late. Or no, I'm sorry, Dr. Post, who is fighting with Sol Volante in second. It's going to be Dr. Post in second. Tiz the Law easily by 5 or 6, and it is Max Player and Dr. Post coming up late for second and third, but an easy win here for Tiz the Law.
Wow. All right.
Dan, how beyond on it am I? At 3:10, I said, I want Max Player, Dr. Post, and Tiz the Law. I am the champion of the day.
Tell me you cashed some big tickets here. Tell me you cashed something, right?
Well, I got the super, and I have the, I bet him to win. So yes,
that'll work. That'll work.
Yep.
Good internal fractions too. I mean, 110 flat,
Yes.
134. They came home in 12s. I mean, that's an impressive effort there from Tiz the Law.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and we saw Tap It to Win. I was going to mention Tap It to Win did go pretty fast early. 46 and change, then did 109 and I think 109 and 2. Again, pretty fast for I mean, when you're going a mile and an eighth, granted at this level, if the horse was good enough, had enough daylight, I think should have been able to kick on, but just obviously too fast for that horse.
Was the 10 Pneumatic 2 and 4th, so we were right about him closing as well. He was in a better spot, but that finishes off a superfecta, so Pneumatic to finish off your super here too.
Yeah, I think we realistically, if you're watching, hopefully you guys had something, because I think at some point or another, I mean, I think it made look, Samich made it pretty clear, right? 8-9. If you use those 8-9 in the top 2, we covered Max Player as a horse that we moving late, and we had a lot of interest in Pneumatic as well. So hopefully everyone watching has cashed something. I did a really weird superfecta ticket where I put 8 over 1-9 over 1-9-3, and then I used a bunch of horses except for pneumatic. So for whatever reason. So
I wasn't on early enough.
Well, no, I'm looking at this ticket now because I was, I'm punching it in. I just punched it in as we were talking, and I used pneumatic in second and third, but did not put them in for fourth.
Oh,
it happens. It
does
happens.
happen.
Well, cool.
Hey, Danny, I got a question for you.
Yep.
So, we're not surprised your Tis the Law won. It's got a long time before the Kentucky Derby rolls around. Like, what do they do? Like, do they race them in the Travers? What do you do in between all of this?
The Connections came out and said they want to go in the Travers.
Yeah.
They said they wanted to go for all 4. I mean, that's a awfully big pass to go 1.25 miles a month before you go 1.25 miles. I mean,
Right.
but hey, these horses don't come around very often, and he's clearly the best 3-year-old right now. I mean, I think the second best one is probably the one that just chased him home. Uncle Chuck might have something to say about that down the line, but I mean, he beat a pretty good field here of the 3-year-olds. I'm not sure who else you want in this spot to try and take him on.
Well, obviously, I would default to Cali here, but I don't think Manny got anywhere near to the bottom of Tis the Law there. It would seem very easy in the lane, did not ask a whole lot.
Nope. You would have seen it if he needed to.
Yeah, he was still as could be. The good thing about this horse, though, is that if they do need to give him some time, his best number, at least up until today, we'll see what that is, but his best number was off of a pretty nice layoff, too. So he's a horse that can run fresh if he needs to, which gives you that versatility and that much more of an advantage.
Mm-hmm.
We got Magic hanging out in the green room. Made sure to comment. He did it privately too, so as not to put me on full blast. But how did Farmington Road do? Anyone know?
I think he just finished.
He just finished. He was doing that for a minute. By the way, it was our thought that we'd wrap up after the Belmont Stakes, but I'm thinking we may have to stay for one more race, specifically because Bram, you may not have known this, but the guy just next to you, JD, can call a race. That's actually what he does. And so we appreciate you taking the initiative there because we were all behind and on delay. But JD, now that it's out there, you've got to call the next race for us.
Okay, that's fine. I have to actually. Well, I'm alive in the pick 5, and I have the late pick 4. So I have looked at the race, but I haven't looked at the race from I'm going to call it perspective. So I'll need to do that real quick. But yeah, of course.
Do you want to go into the green room for a minute? You also bring Magic back? We could. You could go. You could.
Well, I want to bring Magic back just so we can have some great scintillating Farmington Road discussion real quick.
The only problem, if we bring Magic back, someone has to leave, and I don't want to lose anybody.
And that's what I'm saying is I'll step out for a minute and prep a little bit. Yep.
Okay. All right. Cool. We'll bring you back. For the race call here coming up. We're going to bring Magic back, sitting patiently. I believe he changed shirts too. He's now wearing a Red Wings jersey. Am I right?
I had it the whole time. I was hoping I was going to get on for a quick second with the sniper to talk a little hockey with him, but didn't work out that way.
Wearing the red for the red board. Go ahead, hit me.
I mean, it's hard to. It's a lot easier the other way around because I was heavy on the force that won at 4-5, and you were trying to find a logical long shot. So, you should be celebrated for taking a chance, and I went for where the easy money was at. So, you stuck to your opinions. I think it's your money that you're playing with, not mine. So as long as you felt comfortable playing your money that way.
Yeah, you've got to. And
that was the softest burn ever.
Yeah.
The keyword courage
Where
right there.
The fire?
I've never been told that I suck so kindly.
So nice. It was very polite.
It was really sweet. It really was. As I'm looking at my tickets, I mean, I did largely, and I mentioned this to Bram when we recorded our radio show and podcast the other day. I was really, I thought, and I still kind of, felt leading up to the race that Tapit to win would potentially. I didn't expect him to go that fast. I knew he was the fastest horse, but I didn't think that he'd have to go that fast because I didn't think that 4 left would put that kind of pressure on. So when I look at my tickets,
that were going to chase him.
Yeah. When I look at my tickets, I would probably throw away more money on Tapit to win than anyone else. But yes, Farmington Road. Add that to the list with Vince Ramos and some other classics from over the years that I've loved as horses that could potentially bounce back at some point. So who is handicapped these next 2 races and wants to give us a really strong opinion? Samich, hit us with some strong opinions.
Yeah, I'm in the Belmont tournament. I'm 16th right now, and so I looked at these races quite a bit to try and come up with some prices. I'm not a huge fan of the 9 Digital Age in the next race. This is first off the layoff for Chad Brown. This horse is first as a 4-year-old. So I did use it in my late pick 4. But to me, I think it's a beatable horse, especially coming off the bench and especially coming from off the pace, which there isn't a ton of in this spot. I like the 10 quite a bit. Have at it. Who ran really well last year. This is going to be a first start in the 5-year-old season out of the Clement barn. Kitten's Joys usually get better as they get older, and this horse is going to be forwardly placed. It ran a good second to Noble Indy and $100,000 optional claimer, and I have a feeling this horse is going to fire well off the bench and could get a really nice trip, either on or very close to the lead. We're 2 for 5 at Belmont, 2 for 5 at the distance with 2 seconds, and 10-1 morning. I haven't looked at the current odds yet, but I think the 10 is a nice play here at 10-1.
17-1 right now.
There we go. Even better play at 17-1.
Yeah,
I've got a $5 pick 5 alive to the 6-10 to the 4-7 in the last. So I'll be rooting for the 6 and the 10 here.
Okay, 6-10 with 4-7, a closeout for you. Let's hope you get that, and those will be the prices you need to kind of spice up the payouts a little bit. Megan, I know you mentioned that you had some picks over at TVG. Is there anything you could share with us, though, just sort of general insights here in the next couple of races?
Yeah, definitely go check those out. I mean, for this spot, I wish that the 3 would have stayed in, but obviously is scratched in here, so that changed up the landscape a little bit. I gave a bit of a look to the 6 horse. Has some graded stakes experience, but it's just kind of been a level below. I'm interested in both that one and also the 2 horse who are coming off of an extended layoff. You've got Shug. He does pretty well with it. This horse has also competed in some graded stakes races, but has just been a step below. So I think that I don't know who said it before, but someone said this is these races are where you might find a bit of a price. And it does seem to set up that way, just because you have horses that are moving up or have been competing at a tougher level and are now dropping back down. Hello, dog, to the allowance optional claiming level. So I'm thinking about the 2 and the 6 in here, which are both respectable at 6-1, I believe, current odds.
Megan, while you're, while we have you here, and we'll go to the top of the hour and then a little beyond as we get JD back in a little bit to call the 11th race for us. Some people might not know this, but you actually you run a business entirely separate from what you do on TVG. Tell people about that, and for anyone who's like in the world of horse racing that might be interested in reaching out for some of what you do. Yeah,
for sure. It's open to any kind of business as well. But if anybody doesn't know, I've worked this would have been my 8th year with NBC Sports, working behind the scenes, which I've never wanted to do television before. I just kind of fell into it. I have a business degree, so I figured I might as well combine the 2. And we do digital media marketing. So most of the commercials you see for like my racehorse, they released Authentic the other day, and they had a promo there. My company made those. So we do commercial productions. We also do filming for like sales, for walking confirmation videos. We do websites, logo animation, social media stuff. So it's just basically as the world continues to move digital and, we're learning these technologies. I love both industries, both the TV side of it and also the horse side of it, which is what I came from growing up as a rider. So I'm hoping to bridge the gap for a lot of people. And in this day and age, it's super important. So, but again, it's not just only horse stuff. We could do a commercial for a law firm, whatever works. So it's open to anything, but I appreciate you giving us a shout out. It's called VidHorse, by the way. You can find us at VidHorse on social media and then vidhorse.com.
Well, I'll say, even though I don't have any firsthand experience with VidHorse, I know your work, and I worked with you on a number of different projects. Megan, obviously, one of the most talented people I know in horse racing or anywhere, really.
Thank you.
For sure.
I'm in good company for you to say that too, so that means a lot.
No, seriously. So definitely check that out. And while I'm on this path, I also want to give Callie a chance to jump in with something. Callie has worked her way through through the rider circuit in the Mid-Atlantic, and Callie is actively on the grind, and hopefully we're going to see a lot more of Callie riding. Callie, just tell people like where they can find you, and look, if there are any owners out there watching looking for a rider in Maryland, we'll let Callie give you the pitch.
Well, shoot, Dan, I appreciate the shout out on the spot. I'm not one to particularly pitch myself so hard, but definitely plan on I had to take a bit of time off and plan on getting back into action pretty soon. I was actually supposed to ride today, but we were it was taken off the turf and we were low on the AE list. So just ready to rock and roll. Having a great time. Just anything else, Dan?
No, that's like when I think, but like I spoke to you last week, and I know that people may not realize this. The life of a jockey may seem glamorous, but especially for a lot of jockeys, and if you're on the Mid Atlantic circuit, it's one thing. If you're on the New York circuit, it's a completely different thing. You've also you get up typically 5 a.m., 4:30 in the morning, whatever it is. You're working straight through. It's an intense life, and it's an intense grind, and so I don't think a lot of people are aware of like the amount of hours that you put in. Again, I don't want to like completely make you feel uncomfortable here, but I know how hard you work. So brag about yourself.
So just answer the question and then don't stop.
It's a lot of hours. It's a lot of grind, but you know what? So many great people in this industry. So fun, so worth it. And you can find me. I'm just Instagram, Twitter, and Miss Francois to you. So hopefully I'll be sharing a little bit more of that eventually. And I can't wait to share that with you guys. It's going to be a ton of fun.
Awesome. Magic, you're not available for riding. Your riding services are not available. But you did mention before you left earlier that you were looking at playing a couple of horses in these next two races. For anybody who's just jumping in, looking to get some action here in these next couple of races, specifically this one, just let people know, one or two ways they might approach it.
Sure. Yeah. The horse I was talking about earlier is the one, Talk or Listen. This is an Irish bred horse making his first start of his 4-year-old season and first start in North America. And it's interesting with these races, you always have to be a little cautious if they've never faced American runners before, whether you're going to see them adapt to it well or not. And I know a lot of people like to just take a wait and see approach unless it's a horse coming from Chad Brown. But with Aaron Delacour, I feel like he tends to do really well with these first timers coming over. He hasn't won with the last 5 according to the DRF stats, but first time with the trainer angle is 31%, so that works well for him. Ricardo Santana Jr., I feel like it's a bad rap as a turf rider. He is very, very, very strong on dirt. We've seen that numerous times, but you got to remember too, he got Stormy home in the 4-star Dave last year, so to be able to beat the boys, I feel like he can handle this horse on the turf. So if you're looking for a little bit of an angle, you got 7-1 right now on him. He is paired up with a stablemate, the 1A, so you're going to get a little 2-for-1 action. So if you like one, you're getting the other, and see if we can get him home.
7-1 right now. Digital Age still taking most of the money for Chad Brown, Klarovich stable. 6-5 on Digital Age. So if we could beat Digital Age, we might get paid nicely here.
It's a big if.
Yeah. It really is a big if. Again, Samich a moment ago said he liked the horse at 18-1. Have at it. Couple different prices. You talked about turf trainers, turf riders who've done well and who are doing well in New York. Junior Alvarado, for my money, take him just about in any spot on the turf, and is on the 4-horse here, Red Right Hand, at 11-1. One to look at for Tom Morley. Bram, have you been speed capping here? Are you on these couple of races?
Give me 2 minutes, Dan. I was unaware that we were doing this race, Dan.
Dan just doesn't want to stop.
That's live TV, baby.
Yeah.
Get ready.
On to Santa Anita and Penn National, exactly.
The 4 is interesting, Dan. The 4 is interesting, Dan. I mean, that's going to be your speed in this spot. And speed on the turf has been pretty good today. So he's a horse that you could definitely play if you think you can take him wire to wire. And all these horses are coming off long layoffs. So this is the place to try and take a price. And there's not a lot of speed in here. So the 4 at 11-1 is a decent shot.
Yeah. I mean, I don't mind that horse at all. I'm just kind of scrolling through it myself. Pillar Mountain, horse on I'm a little surprised at the maybe just because I mean Pillar Mountain has got some name recognition to me, so I'm a little surprised at 6-1. Thought might be a little bit lower than that, but cutting back 1.5 miles here, 1.1 1/8. Really only one try at the distance. I don't know necessarily. I mean the horse is always coming from way out of it, as you mentioned a moment ago. Speed has been good, maybe downgrade because of that. So those are some quick thoughts. Bram, you're still handicapping?
I mean, right now, Monarch Glen is the one that kind of sticks out to me as one that I'm kind of interested in. But again, you caught me off guard, and I promise if you allow me 40 more seconds of alone time, I will come up with something that sounds better than
Needs
that.
total silence.
Unfortunately, that's not good TV.
You wouldn't do well handicapping live at the track. That's not your environment.
The one that's just sticking out to me right now is Monarch's Glen, and I don't know particularly why, but that's just kind of a very quick, rudimentary look at it, and circle back around to me, but that's the one that's sticking out to me right now.
Sounds good. Here's what I'm going to do while you're thinking. Let me see. We've got a couple of potential hosts here. I'm going to kind of toss it up in the air. You know, I'm just going to throw it to Megan. I'm going to let her host for a minute. I'm going to back out for just a minute. I'm going to bring JD back in. And when I return, I'm going to let Magic go back to his drinking. And so
this is the late show after all.
This is the late show. So
I get to host the late show. You've got the business stuff on the front end. Now the party starts.
Exactly. So
I would have brought my Tito's. I didn't know.
So everybody hang in. I'm going to back out. I'm going to move JD back in. I should be back in time for the race because I'm interested in hearing this race call. But you all stay on and wait for JD to hop on in a moment.
You're leaving?
I'm leaving.
He's got to go handicap this race.
I'll come back.
Bram, this is my show now.
I'll come back. Megan's taking over. Megan's coming. Megan's taking over.
There you go. Perfect. Just going to pinch hit here for a minute. Also, I wanted to give a shout out to all our people that are commenting there. Let us know who you like for this particular race. JD, do you think you're ready for this race call?
Yeah, what I had to do was I had to get like a clean program because like I have like all of my chicken scratch over the horses' names and everything, so that's not really a helpful thing when you're trying to call a race. I had a clean program, like I knew all the Belmont horses, so that was easy. But I mean, the big thing with this race is you've got 8 of the 10 horses are coming off of 6-month plus layoffs, so you really got to do some digging. Obviously, I think Talker Listen is very interesting. Coming from France, the Irish bred. Digital Age is going to be tough to beat. I also have at it, on pretty much every ticket I have. I'm 9-10 in every sequence that this race is involved in. So Digital Age is going to be tough to beat, but if anybody's going to do it, I do think Have at It is the person. I think really Red Right Hand is going to be the speed. I don't think we've touched on the 4 at all in this race, but has been major speed and fade at higher levels. Tends to only hold on against lower level competition, but could also be interesting here. Looking up at the live tote here, 11-1 on the 4 Red Right Hand.
How much does your handicapping go into preparing for a race call, or does it? How do you prepare? We've got some guys that do like flashcards, color coding. Like, what is JD's process for this?
Yeah, so I would normally have a flashcard with the silks. So I would normally have that.
Do you draw those yourself, or do you let your daughter do that?
Well, I might start letting my daughter do it. She's only 3, but I think she's starting to get the hang of things. So, no, yeah, and that's really from a handicapping perspective. You just kind of have to look at things like who do you think the likely leader is going to be, just so you can take a look at the break. Because if the handicappers are expecting a horse to break and take the lead, and that horse doesn't take the lead, you need to have eyes and figure out why they didn't. If they stumbled, if they had trouble, if they were just slow out of the gate, or the rider just didn't send. You've got to be able to get that in and mention it to the people at large if they need to.
Yeah, I agree. To the mics out there, this is the kind of race that I think is really interesting. We talked on this a little bit earlier, but what would you say? It's like chicken and the egg, right? Is it pace or is it class for a race like this? Because you've got 2 different scenarios there with not a whole lot, but then horses dropping. I mean, what takes precedence for you guys?
I mean, can I say both?
Yeah, but I mean, like, first, I get that question a lot, and I think some of our viewers do too. Is like, what's the first thing you look at? And I think this race is a good example of that. What's the first thing you look at for this?
For me, it's pace, because pace can outplay class if you get an easy lead, or if you have a hot pace up front that a horse can close into. So pace can set up for a horse that is not as classy and give them a massive advantage in the race. So for me, I'm looking at pace first, and that's one of the reasons I'm on the 10 here. I think that, as JD mentioned, the 4 is cheap speed. And I think the 10 is going to be sitting in a great spot second, get first run at the leader. And even though the 10 have added is not as classy as some of the other horses in here, there is back class there. We've got a couple graded stakes, and it's going to be tough to run that horse down in the lane if Digital Age, if Pillar Mountain are coming from 8 to 10 back. And we haven't had fast fractions up front. You're going to see a lot left for a horse that has some class and has a tactical advantage.
Yeah.
Yeah, have at it's a former Grade 2 winner, so I mean, it's not like there's no class here.
Yeah.
Agree. Kaylee, is that something you really look at too as a rider? I feel like when I interview riders a lot, that's one of the first things that they talk about is how they thought the race might unfold.
Yes, and the first thing that you look at when you're planning out a race is the pace. Who's doing it? How fast are they doing it? Especially with a race like this one, where, as we mentioned, 8 out of the 10 are coming off of a huge layoff. So this is going to be like mega factor coming into this race. Yeah, absolutely.
Totally. So Bram, do we have a decision yet, or?
Yeah. So, what is this? Mile and an eighth?
It's on the turf.
I'm down
What
to.
year
I
is
can
it?
be sold on either Pillar Mountain or Breaking the Rules, and I'll take the number on either one of them. I'm getting like 6 or 7 to 1 on either one of them. I'm happy with that. I like the rider. I like the trainer on both. So I love the connections on both, and on the long layoffs, as we kind of talked about throughout the afternoon. You know, there's certain barns I think you're going to trust a little bit more than others if you're going to bring someone back after a long layoff. And I trust those 2 trainers with these horses. And Rosario's been terrific today closing on horses. So I'm starting to lean towards Pillar Mountain. The distance clearly is not a problem for him. He's typically running 1.5 mile races. Yeah. So, you know, is this one going to be timed right for him? I'm leaning towards Pillar Mountain right now, but I could easily be sold on Breaking the Rules. I'd probably be happy either way.
I should call you more often because it makes me feel better about my picks because I'm also on those 2 same exact horses. So that works for me. That works for me. I don't know if anybody in the comment lines has said where they're going here. Is anyone putting in a late double
for you.
too?
You want to talk about the summer a little bit for a moment?
Yeah.
So, like, how do you see? So Tiz the Law clearly is going to go into the Derby as a favorite, regardless, I guess, of what happens in the Travers, assuming that they're going to run that and he's going to be in it, like their owners say. What do you expect from the other contenders that are out there? Like, how do you see their summer shaping up as they try to take him on in the first weekend of September?
Well, I think it's going to be really interesting this year because, I mean, we're still waiting for some other tracks to open up, right? Like there's only specific spots for where you can go. So I think that kind of pushes everybody towards the same spot. And instead of having, you know, horses coming from so many different places, so many different races into the Kentucky Derby this year, it kind of settles the group a little bit. You kind of figure out who's going to rise to the top maybe a little bit quicker. So I think the Haskell is going to be a huge factor in determining who's going to be your favorite because, like you said, you've got the distance, you're a little bit closer. You've got some maybe horses that are coming back after some time off. So I don't know. I mean, I think Tiz the Law is super impressive. To be fair, I have actually never really been on that horse and clearly been wrong multiple times. But I've been trying to beat him each and every time. So I guess I'll probably jump on the bandwagon next time. And then you can bet against him because he will for sure lose with my 120 pounds on him.
Yeah, can you just let us know when you do that? Because I've been on him every time, and the second you do that, Mike and I have him in a fantasy league. We're going to offload him to somebody else. So just give us a heads up on that.
I will.
Guys, who's the other one now for you? Is it Honor AP? Is it one of the Baffert horses? Who's the other one now that you think challenges him? You know, when it comes.
Nobody.
I stole that. I think it was Kaylee's question. I said authentic.
Sorry. I do like that. I do like the authentic horse. I'm gonna side with the girls here, and I'm gonna just pick authentic.
I go Uncle Chuck. I think he looks huge in debut, and when Mike Smith compares someone to Arrogate, you kind of have to listen, right?
It wasn't so good for the futures. That horse took a whoo dive.
There was one a couple weeks ago at Santa Anita. Baffert ran out Cezanne, and who was bought for, I don't know, $3-point-something million.
3.65.
Right, and won. And I mean, obviously should win there. And we could be staring down a horse that is so lightly raced, racing in the Kentucky Derby. That's a distinct possibility that's going to happen this fall.
I mean, I think we can look at race 5 today at Belmont, Happy Saver. I think that could be a serious contender for Pletcher.
That race ran favorably to the 7 furlong grade 2, the second race in the card. I mean, that was a huge effort from that 3-year-old first out. And that's like Pletcher and Baffert are a great example of trainers that get horses ready third and fourth start of their career. I mean, look what Baffert's done with other 3-year-olds. We're just switching up the date they're aiming for now. Instead of the first Saturday in May, we're shooting for the first Saturday in November. And you're going to see them work these horses right into that date. I mean, if you look at the first Saturday in May, Baffert had 2 pretty good 3-year-olds going. I mean, I'm sure he can get it going again with a couple more if he needs to.
Yeah. Well, this year especially, I feel like his barn was loaded with those horses, and unfortunately, because of injuries and whatever, it didn't happen. But you're right about that. He's the kind of trainer that, you know, can really bump up a horse to whatever level they need to be at. They peak at the right time. I have a sneaking suspicion. I've gone back in creating that promo for my racehorse and watched a bunch of interviews with Baffert about the horse, and I wouldn't be surprised. I wasn't surprised with the rider switch. I do love Drayden, but I think the horse is a little bit much for him to handle. So I think a rider like Mike Smith with some quieter hands and who can just let him run and take a breath in the race will be better. I also am really interested to see if Baffert's going to put blinkers on the horse, because he has been talking about it. He wanted to put him on before his first start and he never did. And he's been a little wishy-washy with it throughout. So I wouldn't be surprised if we see the shades go on too. And I think he's got a shot to run back against a horse like Honor AP and redeem himself.
Just not sure that as an Into Mischief, can he get the distance? That's been my big concern. And Mike and I talk about this a lot. Is can Into Mischiefs really handle 1.25 miles?
Mm-hmm.
He's got good breeding underneath, but I would rather take someone like Charlatan, who, even though he's by Speightstown, has incredible pedigree for distance underneath, rather than risk it with somebody like Authentic. So, as someone who's a pedigree expert, are you concerned about that at all, or no?
I don't call myself a pedigree expert necessarily. I would say more. I look at the horses as an individual. I think pedigree is really important, but I also think that I don't think it's everything. And looking at the horses physically, I mean, Authentic is a big imposing type. I would call him more of a classic type of a horse, whereas Charlatan, when I look at him physically and when I watch him run, he looks to me like a miler. I didn't think he would get the distance at all. I mean, I think we talked about this, maybe it was on this show, or I'm not sure. They've all muddled together at this point. But when there's no pace in the race, any horse can get the distance, right? And I think that was kind of the case in Arkansas for Charlatan. But I do think that he's really limited on that. And that's just from watching him. I tend to maybe think Speightstown was a little bit of a shorter distance horse. But yeah, if you put those two up against each other, I would take Authentic every time. So head to head, we'll see. We'll make it a drinking game. I don't know.
Mike, what do you think about Into Mischiefs?
What is he? 175,000 now? He puts out a bunch of great sprinters, and he's probably one of the most versatile sires out there. But he hasn't won one of the big 1.25 mile races yet. Although he's putting out so many good horses, I'm sure that he will soon. And I think a lot of it depends on the bottom too. I mean, if you have distance horses on the bottom of a pedigree, that can make a big difference, no matter who they're being bred to.
Yeah, it definitely goes into it. We have some questions from Dustin O'Hara. What about Keeneland Bluegrass? You guys have thoughts on that?
I'm excited it's running. I was bummed when Keeneland kind of got knocked out. I wasn't sure that we were actually going to get a Bluegrass. So I think it's going to be great to even have that short meet. And it'll be interesting to see who shows up there. It's a 50-point race, right? Or is it 100?
I think it was 50. Am I wrong on that?
I
think it's 50 too.
It used to be 100. Did they knock it down?
I don't know. I guess we'll have to check it, or one of our people in the comments could. You know what's interesting about that race, though, is that the Bluegrass has just unfortunately not been a great producer for the Kentucky Derby. But I think that's due to two things. One, obviously, was the surface for many years, and then they've switched back over to the dirt, which is an excellent surface and I think is a better prep for the Kentucky Derby. But I think it's also the timing as well. But now you've got the Bluegrass so far away from the Kentucky Derby. I mean, is this a better spot for horses to target leading into that classic 1.25 mile race?
1,000%.
I think so.
I think it was. I always thought it was way too close.
Yeah.
Because you have to, with some of these bigger races, you just have to give them time, and they're not getting enough time.
Agreed.
I think it was I think it was right to put from the 100 down to the 50.
Did you check it? Is it 50?
I think it is. I'm trying to look it up right now.
So Dan's going to jump on, so I'm going to peace out for again. So thank you to everybody for having me back on, and good luck with the rest of the races here.
Take care, Magic.
Bye.
It'll be interesting to see how.
6. That's where I'm going. I went with the 6.
All right, we've got an official decision.
Yeah, official
6,
decision
Pillar Mountain.
made.
Dan, back to you.
What did I miss? What happened?
I might be ahead of you guys, but I only have 2 back here as they're loaded in on the inner turf course for race 11.
Yeah,
here.
he's right.
There we
Going
go.
a mile and 1/8.
All right.
As the last horse to load in will be Have At It from the outside.
This is great.
Loving it.
And we're off in the 11th. And early from the inside, Red Right Hand will take a nose in front. And in the middle of the track, we'll actually see Have At It also headed for the early lead. Have At It will float over and take an early lead in hand for Manny Franco. Red Right Hand right behind in second. We've got Talk or Listen in the third spot. Outside is going to be the 9-horse Digital Age. Inside, we've got the 2-horse that is Breaking the Rules, as we've got the first quarter about to come up here. As, again, an early lead for Have At It out of the Christophe Clement barn with Red Right Hand right behind in second. Talk or Listen now going up 3 wide and contesting the pace here. Opening quarter in 24 and 3 as we have At It on top here and in hand with Red Right Hand in second. Talk or Listen third. Digital Age and Breaking the Rules both in a joint fourth with the 1A Surprise Twist back in a nice stalking position in sixth. On the rail behind is Argonne as the 8-horse Trex Argonne Sand Dancer as the half goes up in 49 and 3 as we head the far turn. Red Right Hand on the outside of Have At It, but Have At It has had his way all throughout this race as Have At It now going to get an early charge here from Breaking the Rules, who will split outside from the rail draw. And Breaking the Rules now steps up right in front of Have It All. Have It All, though, shakes loose for Manny Franco. Have It All. Down the stretch, Breaking the Rules in second now, poking ahead in front on the outside. Digital Age looking to close. Digital Age on the outside, Breaking the Rules inside, and Breaking the Rules will win the 11th. Digital Age was second. Have At It was third. Time 1:47 and 39 hundredths. Wow, that was bad.
Great job, JD.
Good go, JD.
That was good.
So
Don't you hate it when you're
normally
like, I'm
Dan,
going to take the 2 or the 6 and you pick the wrong one? Don't you hate it?
normally, Dan, I haven't had a couple beers in me when I call the race too. So
I don't know. I think it works for you.
Gives you a edge.
That was really good because I couldn't actually get the race up to load anywhere on my computer. So all I had was you, and it was excellent.
I've heard that was the secret all these years for Tom Durkin. He just drank a lot of White Claw, and it all worked out. But hey, I want to say though, again, just to give a shout out here, to Samich with the call with Have At It. I mean, that horse almost got there, 17-1. Nice play, was on the lead, and looked for a moment there in mid-stretch like he might hang on. So nice call by you, Mike.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, that third quarter hurt. 49, going 49 and then going 112. I was cringing a little bit because we got an easy pace early, and then it kind of picked up in those internal fractions. And I'd say that's probably what cost the 10 the race, but we'll live to see another day. It would have been nice if we could have held on for second for the tournaments, but we'll move on and see if we can get a bomb home in the last.
All right.
And since I had 9 and 10 in the late pick 4, I am out.
No.
I'm out too. I'm done. Bram, before we sign off, parting thoughts?
I love being right. Can't believe I called the top 3 of the Belmont Stakes. It's like the greatest day of my life. So, booyah to me. So, no, this was fun. It was great. I got to tell you, it's just in general, just having a major sporting event happen in what's going on right now. And this is the first, the NFL draft was a big deal that it happened, but this is the first major competitive sporting event that's happened since everything kind of shut down. It was just great to have it, and it was great to share that time with all of you all today.
Absolutely. I want to thank everybody who watched. Pretty solid viewership beginning to end. We started at 3 o'clock. It's almost 6:30, 3.5 hours. We've been live, and it's been awesome. Every minute of it has been spectacular. I want to thank our current guests, J.D. Fox, Megan Devine, Callie Francois, Mike Samich, and everyone else who joined us as guests today, taking time out of their Belmont Stakes Day. Thank you, everyone. We will see you next time. Thanks, guys.